Chapter 14:16. But if the one who killed the fifth was not the leader of the wizard tribe, then who was it? According to the memories we obtained from the soul search, there are less than 5 or 6 people in the wizard tribe with such strength, the green figure said. The blood demon snorted coldly, and his dark red eyes flashed fiercely. It should be the 2 geniuses of the wizard tribe who are going to compete in the Azura Forbidden Land. You can get 9 points for killing our 3rd heavenly layer creatures. Hearing this, the green figure said coldly, using the creatures of the Azura world as prey. Since ancient times, it has been the Azura world that hunts other creatures. These 2 people are really reckless. No matter why they hunted the 5th, now is the time for the master to come out of seclusion, and there must be no accident. Mobilize all the creatures in the Azura Forbidden Lands to search for them, and we must eliminate them. The blood demon shouted. The hoarse voice spread in all directions, and suddenly the nearby beasts moved, searching everywhere for the whereabouts of Suyu and the others. Swish. The 2 breaths went far away, and the blood demon and the green figure swept into the distance, not paying attention to the inconspicuous mountain under their feet. In the belly of the mountain, Wang Qingchen was horrified, and his voice trembled a little. What kind of existence are those 2 creatures? Especially one of them is particularly evil. Suyu briefly recounted what he had seen and heard in the Forbidden Lands. After listening, Wang Qingchen's eyes were solemn. I am afraid that we have to withdraw from this trial. The beasts that have mutated are far from what we can match. Mutated? Suyu's eyebrows twitched as he recalled the time when he encountered the Azura Forbidden Lands and saw the sky full of dragon-shaped creatures. He couldn't help but realize that the Azura Forbidden Lands had indeed changed. Wang Qingchen said, half a month ago, I sensed that the prohibition in the Forbidden Land had changed. Then, from the source of the first layer of sky, an extremely evil wave radiated. Wherever the wave swept through, all the creatures in the area changed. Their eyes gradually turned red, their temperament became tyrannical, and they suddenly developed natural instincts, such as the sudden increase in physical strength, the sudden addition of the ability to hide, the ability to transform, and so on. Suyu remembered a group of little frogs he had encountered, which carried a poison that did not match their cultivation. If he was not mistaken, the poison should have been caused by the mutation. Brother Su, this matter should not be delayed. Leave this place immediately, or else the danger will be unpredictable, Wang Qingchen said anxiously. Suyu squinted his eyes and said, I'm sorry, but I don't plan to leave for the time being. The outcome of this competition is very important to me. If Brother Wang wants to leave, then please hurry up. After thinking about it, Wang Qingchen sighed. Fine, I will help Brother Su kill as many beasts as possible and win the competition. He continued, according to the rules, although outsiders are not allowed to help capture and kill the beasts, it shouldn't be a problem to help Brother Su point out where there are more beasts, right? I've been in the Azura Forbidden Land for over half a month now and I'm familiar with most of the terrain as well as many vicious beast lairs. Hearing this, Suyu's eyes lit up. Having Wang Qingchen as a guide could improve efficiency. Thank you, Suyu said. Wang Qingchen smiled bitterly. I did this in the hope that Brother Su could protect me from disaster. Now, not only had the ferocious beasts mutated, there were even 2 extremely terrifying unknown ferocious beasts that had appeared. Coupled with the fact that most of the wizard tribe's tools in his possession had been used up, and even his wizard energy was extremely scarce, how could he dare to walk alone in the forbidden area? Following Suyu was the safest choice. Brother Wang, you are too modest. We are just helping each other. How can we talk about protection? Suyu smiled lightly. Wang Qingchen laughed. Brother Su, you are the one who is modest. Well, I know a few places where there are groups of ferocious beasts, but there is one that is the most suitable for Brother Su. Where? The source of the mutation, the junction between the level 1 and level 2, Wang Qingchen said. Suyu's eyes lit up. There, Wang Qingchen said, after the strange fluctuations occurred, I went to investigate and found that there were a dozen level 4 ferocious beasts living there. With Brother Su's absolute strength, it would not be difficult to kill them. In this case, Brother Su can get 60 to 70 points and be invincible. Hearing this, Suyu was tempted. Okay, Let's go and have a look. 2 days later, they went straight to the source of the mutation. Along the way, Suyu noticed the eyes of the ferocious beasts many times. It was not covetous, but more like surveillance. A bad feeling welled up in his heart, and he whispered softly, I must finish this quickly. Brother Su, it is just ahead. Wang Qingchen pointed to a whirlpool in the sky. This whirlpool was exactly the same as the whirlpool of the Azura Forbidden Lands seen by the outside world. The difference was that it was no longer filled with red thunder that did not hurt or itch, but a terrible, burning flame. The flames were terrible. Not to mention Suyu, even if the Moonwatch sect leader came in person, he would immediately be burned to ashes. That is the level 2 seal of the Azura Forbidden Lands. It is said that there are 30 vicious level 3 natural spirits sealed inside, Wang Qingchen said with a relaxed expression. Fortunately, they are sealed and cannot go out to harm the lost nation. Suyu thought to himself. There were more than 30 sealed in the level 2 seal. The number was immeasurable. At least, it would be easy to destroy the lost nation. Under that whirlpool, there was a group of level 4 duckbill beasts. The mutation first affected them, making them proficient in the special ability of invisibility. Therefore, it is not easy to kill them in the past, Wang Qingchen said. Suyu looked into the distance. Sure enough, in the silver lake under the whirlpool, he could see groups of duck-billed small beasts that appeared and disappeared from time to time. Sure enough, they are proficient in the art of invisibility, Suyu whispered. Brother Wang, wait here for a moment. I will be back soon. After saying that, Suyu hid his figure and breath and quickly disappeared in front of Wang Qingchen. The next moment, a breeze blew by the lake, and the reeds fluttered gently. An invisible figure quietly approached the lake. Then, a stream of colorful liquid poured into the silver lake silently. The 18 level 4 duckbill beasts were unaware and were still looking for food in the silver lake. Until one of the duckbill beasts suddenly screamed. Its feet, which were immersed in the water, were rotting. Under severe pain, the duckbill beast fluttered its huge wings and hurriedly flew into the void. Because of the decay of its body, although they were invisible, the dripping blood immediately exposed its position. Then, the rest of the duckbill beasts were hit one after another. One by one, they flew into the air with their lower bodies rotting. Suyu's eyes lit up. 9 golden lights circled in his palm. He was about to sacrifice the 9 sun sword formation and kill them in one fell swoop while they were unprepared. But at that moment, a grey force flashed and killed one of the duckbill beasts. Its death immediately alerted the rest of the duckbill beasts, and they scattered in all directions. Moreover, they cooperated with each other very methodically. 14 of them fled while the other 4 stayed behind. Their dark red eyes stared coldly at the surroundings, ready to block sneak attacks for their companions at any time. Chapter 14:17. He successfully ambushed a duckbill beast and was overjoyed. He immediately released several streams of wizard energy and chased after the rest of the duckbill beasts. As Suyu had expected, the 4 duckbill beasts immediately sacrificed themselves to cover for their companions as soon as they discovered the enemy attack. Poof! 4 more duckbill beasts were beheaded, but the rest of the duckbill beasts took the opportunity to escape and scatter in all directions. It was impossible to kill them again. This person's actions could be said to have completely ruined Suyu's entire plan. Although I didn't find the level 3 ferocious beasts that those old guys left for me, I have harvested so many level 4 ferocious beasts. I'm afraid Suyu won't be so lucky. Suyu sneered. He had been wondering who had taken advantage of the situation, but it turned out to be Chu Bawang. Just as Suyu was about to show up and surprise Chu Bawang, suddenly, Suyu's heart skipped a beat, and he hid his almost exposed breath and figure again. I really caught a big fish. The hoarse voice of the blood demon resounded over the silver lake without warning. Beside him, a green figure followed him like a shadow. Chu Bawang was taken aback and looked up, his eyes shining. A level 3 ferocious beast. Or 2. He licked his lips, thought for a while, and sneered. The heavens have pity on me. I couldn't find you, but you came to me yourself. Chu Bawang had the qualifications to despise ordinary level 3 divine spirits, but unfortunately, the one standing in front of him was not an ordinary level 3 divine spirit. Dragon binding curse. Chu Bawang suddenly made a move, and an extremely powerful inherited wizard technique was suddenly displayed, heading straight for the blood demon and the green figure. The blood demon crossed his arms, his ferocious face unfazed. The green figure on the side had a hint of playfulness in his eyes. If I hadn't regained the power of Azura, I would still be afraid of the wizard tribe, but now, his green fist pointed into the air, and the wizard power ripples seemed to have met their nemesis. They quickly subsided, and eventually disappeared without a trace. Ah! How is that possible? Chu Bawang was shocked. After turning his eyes, he immediately turned to escape. However, just as he was about to escape, a huge duck's beak suddenly emerged from the water. As if it was eating a small fish, it caught Chu Bawang in its mouth. At this moment, a huge duckbill beast that was 10 times the size of the 4th heavenly layer duckbill beast emerged from the water. Its crimson eyes became even colder, and the feathers on its body were as hard as steel. It held Chu Bawang firmly in its mouth. No matter how Chu Bawang used his sorcery power to attack the duckbill beast, it had no effect. The green figure retracted his fist and chuckled. Fourth brother is still the best. Wizard power is useless against you. In terms of the power of Azura, only Boss Blood Demon can compare to you. The duckbill beast threw Chu Bawang on the ground. His body was covered with a layer of sticky mucus, which trapped him inside and prevented him from escaping. The dark red eyes of the duckbill beast did not look at them. Instead, it looked around and said in a low voice, "You've caught the wrong person. This kind of trash can't possibly kill old Five. It's not him." The cyan figure was startled. Blood Demon also had a ferocious look in his eyes. He shook his head and said in a hoarse voice, "It's not him. He doesn't have the scent of old Five's blood on him. That shouldn't be the case. We have mobilized the creatures in the Azura Forbidden Lands to search for the person who killed old Five. We did find a suspicious person who went straight to the entrance of the 2nd level of heaven and set up an ambush here. Why didn't he come?" the cyan figure said. Blood Demon and the duckbill beast glanced around, and a trace of tyrannical killing intent slowly fluctuated. Blood Demon sneered. "Who told you that he didn't come?" Duckbill beast also said, "He is here. The poison in the Silver Lake was planted by him. He is still nearby." Swish. At that moment, a grey figure flashed above the lake, bringing with it a series of whirlwinds. It was a creature with an eagle's head and a human body. Its lower body was that of a human, and its upper body was that of an eagle. It was holding a person in its mouth. Who else could it be but Wang Qingchen? Wang Qingchen's abdomen was torn by the giant claws, and his injuries were extremely serious. Su Yu was horrified. With Wang Qingchen's combat power, he was injured so badly in such a short time. Looking at the situation, it seemed that he did not put up much resistance. "This giant eagle, is he the one you are looking for?" The giant eagle dropped Wang Qingchen and opened its mouth. Hearing this, the green figure and the duckbill beast stepped forward together and said, "Second brother is still the best." The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. The 4 mutant beasts surrounded Wang Qingchen and looked at him. Blood Demon's eyes flashed slightly. "Well, yes, he has the breath of 5th brother's blood on him. It should be him." Duckbill beast echoed, "This person is cunning. If it were not for 2nd brother's surveillance from above, I am afraid he would have escaped." The green figure said, "The murderer has been caught. How should we deal with them?" Everyone looked at Blood Demon, their big brother. Blood Demon looked up at the vortex in the sky and said, "The seal needs to be lifted urgently. The cultivation of these 2 people is considered good among the wizards. The power of their blood should help to speed up the unlocking of the seal. It is best to use them as blood sacrifices." As he spoke, Blood Demon grabbed the 2 people and flew into the depths of the vortex with the 3 ferocious beasts. In the blink of an eye, the group disappeared without a trace. After a long time, Su Yu still did not move, nor did he reveal any breath. Until half a day later, he was still like a rock, without the slightest movement. But at this moment, not far from where Su Yu stood, the duckbill beast appeared from its invisibility. It glanced around doubtfully. Did I sense wrongly? I clearly sensed that there was a momentary fluctuation of breath in the vicinity. You must be thinking too much. In the vortex, a giant eagle swooped down. Its sharp eyes seemed to be able to capture all the subtle movements. At this time, Blood Demon and the green figure also flew down from the vortex. The green figure said, "It seems that there is really no one else. We have been thinking too much. In that case, let's go," Blood Demon said, and together with the other 3 ferocious beasts, they really entered the vortex. Not long after, a breeze blew, but Suyu still did not move. After a few hours, there was a soft sigh in the air. "Let's go, there is really no one else." Half an hour later, Suyu's figure appeared, and his eyes were solemn. A group of cunning, ferocious beasts. Twice in a row, they pretended to leave, but in fact, they were secretly lying in ambush to lure the people in hiding. Fortunately, Suyu was patient enough to not be fooled. However, looking at the vortex above, Suyu hesitated for a moment, then followed suit. He had promised to keep Wang Qingchen safe. Now that he was in trouble, Suyu could not just stand by and watch. There was another universe inside the vortex, unlike the vortex of the first level of heaven. Inside this vortex, there was a space of its own. It was a huge, undulating labyrinth. Above the labyrinth, there was a layer of blood-red light curtain, which seemed to block the top of the sky. Indistinctly, pitch-black dragon shadows were reflected on the blood-red light screen as they swiftly swam past. Chapter 14:18. As for the labyrinth below, he had no idea what it was. The labyrinth was shrouded in dense fog, and the paths were intricate. The strangest thing was that due to the influence of the blood-red light curtain, one could not fly. They could only find their way in the labyrinth like ordinary people. Suyu tried to use his transparent eye, but he was restricted by the blood-red light curtain above and could not see through the labyrinth's route map. After a moment of contemplation, Suyu's mind moved, and the evil god appeared in front of him. "Wakaka, boy, you've fallen into a big opportunity again. This seal is really big. I'm afraid it can seal a level 2 super strong man, right?" The evil god took a look at the seal and knew that it was extraordinary. Suyu said, "Cut the crap, my friend has been taken away, and I need you to find the scent and lead the way in the labyrinth." The evil god raised his head, put his hands on his hips, and said proudly, "Boy, I don't mean to criticize you, but although your strength is not bad, you still have to rely on me at critical time. Speaking of tracking, hihi, I'm not bragging, but no one in the 9 emperors can compare to me." Suyu said indifferently, "I don't think there is any emperor who can compete with you to see who has a better nose." "Hey, insulting a dog again, what's wrong with a dog? My dog is my glory." The black dog bared its teeth. Suyu said, "Finding my friend is the glory." As he spoke, Suyu took out a jade tombstone and said, "There is the scent left by my friend on it, smell it." Unexpectedly, the black dog's hair stood on end when it saw this thing, and it retreated in horror. "Why do you carry this thing with you? Do you know what this is?" Suyu nodded. "I know, it's very dangerous. Why do you carry it with you if you know? Do you have a death wish?" the black dog said. Suyu's eyes lit up. "I have a great use for this thing." The black dog stared at him. "There are many people in the world who are not afraid of death, but you are the only one I admire, because I don't even dare to dream of your death-seeking trick. Enough, enough. Hurry up and take this thing back, I have already smelled the scent." Suyu put away the jade tombstone solemnly and muttered, "If it were possible, I wouldn't want to use it either." The black dog's nose was extremely sensitive, and it soon discovered Wang Qingchen's scent. It was as if it was familiar with the maze, avoiding one dead end after another, jumping over one trap after another, and directly catching up to Wang Qingchen's scent. Not long after, Suyu heard intermittent sounds. "This maze is really troublesome. If it weren't for those 5 old geezers leading the way, we wouldn't have been able to reach the end of the maze and release Master even after spending hundreds of millions of years. We have to thank them for coming. That's why we were able to follow them to the control center of the second heaven's seal. We were able to gradually undo the seal, open the second heaven, and unseal Master. Now that you have these 2 supplements, I believe that Master will be able to break a part of the restriction from the inside. This way, you will be able to escape even faster." Suyu was very cautious, and the black dog had also sensed the danger. Hence, it restrained its aura and followed them silently. Half a day later, they finally arrived at the center of the labyrinth after going through an extremely complicated and arduous journey. A square the size of a room. There were complex sorcery spells on the ground. At a glance, there were at least 1,000 of them. Each of them shone with a flickering light. Some were dark gray, while others were blood red. The blood red color occupied the majority, and it continued to spread. The blood demon, the giant eagle, the frog, and the duckbill beast stood in the center of the square, where a crystal ball the size of a fist was suspended. The blood demon was carrying a shriveled corpse in his hand. It was Chu Bawang. All the flesh and blood had been taken away, leaving only the bones and skin. The famous genius of the wizard tribe had ended up like this. His flesh and blood were drenched on the crystal ball. The crystal ball spun for a while, making a sizzling sound and emitting bursts of red light. The blood-red sorcery on the ground immediately increased, while the dark grey sorcery suddenly decreased. The four creatures watched with great excitement. 80% of the seal has been lifted. The green figure said in surprise, "The blood of this wizard has a special effect on lifting the seal. He and the other 5 wizards should be the family that guards our Azura forbidden land, the Chu clan." Even the indifferent blood demon showed a hint of joy and said, "Haha, more than that. This person should be an important successor of the Chu clan. The power of his blood is much stronger than those 5 old things. He has lifted 30% of the seal. There is still 20% left. In less than 5 days, Master can break it from the inside out." The duckbill beast nodded calmly. "Well, now we just need to guard the crystal ball. This thing is the core of the control formation. Without it, the seal cannot be completely broken. Yes, from now on, we will not interfere with anything in the outside world. Guard the crystal ball and wait for Master to come out," the blood demon said. The 4 of them were very excited, as if their long-cherished wish of many years was about to be fulfilled. Suddenly, the giant eagle said, "Let's sacrifice this wizard as well." The other 3 ferocious beasts looked expectant. "Haha, this person's strength is above that of the one just now. Could he also be a member of the Chu clan? If he is, perhaps the seal can be completely unlocked today." The giant eagle's eyes flashed coldly, and its sharp claws sucked Wang Qingchen, who was on the ground, towards it. At the same time, its sharp claws were ready to crush Wang Qingchen. But at this moment, the giant eagle seemed to have sensed something, and its expression changed drastically. Its sharp claws changed from offense to defense, blocking in front of its body. Whoosh! A shocking battle intent rose from the ground and suddenly attacked the giant eagle and the other 3 ferocious beasts present. The battle intent was so fierce that even they could not help but be awestruck and defend themselves. Whoosh! When the battle intent dissipated, the giant eagle clawed at the place where it had attacked, but it seemed to have touched something extremely hard. Not only did it fail to tear the attacker to shreds as it had imagined, but its sharp claws created sparks instead. When he opened his eyes, a silver-haired figure quickly disappeared from his sight. "Not good. The boy who was about to be sacrificed has been rescued," the green figure shouted. "What?" The blood demon suddenly turned his head, but what he saw was not Wang Qingchen, but the crystal ball. However, just as he had a bad premonition, the crystal ball had disappeared. Not only was the person rescued, but even the crystal ball was taken away by the other party. The 4 ferocious beasts froze for a moment, and then their expressions changed dramatically. "Quickly chase after him. We can't let him take the crystal ball out of the Azura forbidden lands. Otherwise, we will never be able to unlock the Master's seal. Moreover, even we can't leave the Azura forbidden lands." Unfortunately, Su Yu was prepared and quickly retreated from the maze. With the special terrain where flying was impossible, they could not catch up with Su Yu. Whoosh! However, at this moment, the sky suddenly darkened. Su Yu looked up, and his heart suddenly jumped. On the huge red light curtain in the sky, there was a projection of a behemoth. On the huge head, densely packed sharp horns grew. It looked like a dragon, a demon, and a ghost. A pair of extremely dark red giant eyes, like lanterns, stared coldly at Su Yu. Crack! Right at this moment, the mysterious monster's head suddenly collided with the barrier of light, and it actually caused the barrier of light to shake while a crack suddenly appeared on it. It seemed that the next moment, it would break the seal and emerge from the other end of the seal. Chapter 14:19. However, at that moment, the remaining grey witchcraft on the ground in the center of the labyrinth immediately shot out a grey chain, flying towards the bloody light curtain and entangling it. The trembling bloody light curtain immediately stabilized, and the cracks on it quickly smoothed out. No matter how the mysterious monster hit it with its head, it could no longer shake the bloody light curtain. After trying for a long time, the mysterious monster gave up its fearless attack and isolated the seal's sound transmission. It issued a mighty and majestic voice, "Human creature, put down the crystal ball, and I can give you benefits that you will never be able to obtain." Suyu asked, "How big are the benefits?" "So big that you can't imagine it. At least, the lost nation that you speak of will never be given to you," the mysterious monster said indifferently, and its words had a sense of contempt for the world. Its tone was not small at all. "Why, you don't believe me?" It saw that Suyu did not respond and said indifferently. Suyu smiled lightly. "To be sealed here by the wizard ancestor, I believe that you have unimaginable strength, and I believe that you can really give me unimaginable benefits. However, I can't believe that I can live to get all of this." When he finished speaking, Suyu glanced behind him and said with a faint smile, "I think you've bought enough time. Farewell." The 4 ferocious beasts were approaching quickly. Swish. Suyu immediately left and disappeared into the labyrinth in an instant. When the 4 ferocious beasts arrived, Suyu had already disappeared. Inside the bloody light curtain, the mysterious monster's dark red blood eyes flashed, and it roared, "Human, you will regret this." The angry voice echoed in the labyrinth, causing the bloody light curtain to tremble again. The remaining grey witchcraft on the ground burst into light again, firmly blocking the bloody light curtain. Leaving the labyrinth and flying down from the vortex, Suyu did not say a word. He grabbed the unconscious and seriously injured Wang Qingchen with one hand and performed a seal with the other. Tai Chi Yin-Yang wings. Suddenly, the yin and yang of heaven and earth were in chaos, and the universe was turned upside down. When Suyu reappeared, he had already teleported hundreds of millions of miles away, crossing half of the first level of heaven. Suyu simply put Wang Qingchen into the space ring, and he immediately hid his figure and breath so that he would not be caught. In this way, he slowly headed towards the entrance of the vortex. Along the way, Suyu tried his best to avoid the places where the creatures of the Azura Forbidden Lands roamed, lest they discover him and expose his whereabouts. Hence, Suyu's speed was extremely slow. 10 days later, he finally arrived at the entrance of the vortex. From afar, one could see red lightning flashing at the entrance of the vortex. As long as one passed through it, they would be able to leave the Azura Forbidden Land. However, after witnessing the cunning of the 4 ferocious beasts, Suyu would not be careless and fall for their tricks. With a flicker of his eyes, Suyu weaved a seal with one hand, and a figure appeared beside him. It was one of the divine paths, the clone technique. This doppelganger was exactly the same as the main body, even its aura was the same. Under the secret control of Suyu's main body, the doppelganger quietly circled into a forest. Then, like a sharp arrow, it suddenly shot toward the whirlpool in an attempt to escape the Azura Forbidden Lands. Crack, however, just as he rushed out of the forest, an afterimage suddenly flashed across the sky. The afterimage was extremely fast. Like a black lightning bolt, it arrived in front of the clone in an instant. However, the doppelganger's reaction was also extremely fast. The moment the lightning appeared, it immediately turned around and ran back into the forest. A black shadow appeared like a bolt of lightning. It was the giant eagle. Immediately afterward, the other 3 figures also appeared from the dark. The green figure sneered and said, "Humph, Big Brother Blood Demon is clever and predicted that this man will definitely return here. We can wait for him to exhaust himself and ambush him here." The Blood Demon said fiercely, "Do you think it is possible to escape after entering the Azura Forbidden Lands? Humph. Chase." The Blood Demon, the giant eagle, the frog, and the duckbill beast all chased into the forest. However, listening to the violent movements in the forest, they must have already fought. At this time, Suyu finally moved. In a state of invisibility, He quietly came to the front of the whirlpool, smiled confidently, and jumped into the whirlpool. However, at this moment, a giant fiery red net emerged from the whirlpool. The giant net sensed that a creature had jumped into it and was activated on its own. It suddenly spread out from the whirlpool and covered Su Yu, who was caught off guard. "I've been fooled." Su Yu's face changed drastically, and he hurriedly used his magical powers in an attempt to tear the giant net apart. The 9 suns sword formation. With a low growl, the indestructible golden flames forbidden wood sword cut the golden giant net. A series of sparks suddenly appeared, but only a shallow mark was left on the silk net. It would take some time to completely cut it off. However, Su Yu obviously had no time. Swish, swish, swish. 4 figures broke through the air, as if they had been waiting for a long time. They landed around Su Yu and surrounded him. The green figure couldn't help but laugh loudly. "Ha ha ha. I've finally been fooled. Big Brother Blood Demon guessed right. This person is very cunning and will never take the risk himself. He will definitely use external objects such as clones to test the trap in front of the exit so that he can lead us away." It turned out that they already knew Su Yu's plan. Su Yu was trapped in the giant net, and his divine power was not flowing smoothly. He had little power to resist. He gritted his teeth and said, "You are too cunning." The blood demon sneered. "All is fair in war. What's more, courtesy demands reciprocity. You cheated and stole our crystal ball. Now we are just giving you a taste of your own medicine. Kill him and search his body immediately." "Yes." The green figure licked his lips and sneered. He gathered the power of Azura in his palm and slapped it on Su Yu's forehead. "Let's search your soul first." Bang. However, what made the green figure stiff was that this palm had smashed Su Yu into pieces. There was not a drop of blood or a piece of flesh. It was as if he was an empty shell. The blood demon, the giant eagle, and the duckbill beast were stunned at the same time. The blood demon's eyes flashed, and his expression suddenly turned cold. He shouted, "Not good. We are the ones who have been fooled." As he spoke, the blood demon's terrifying claws grabbed the entrance of the vortex without warning. There was clearly nothing there, but when the blood demon's claws grabbed it, it seemed to have caught something, and there was a harsh scratching sound. In the void, a figure emerged. That silver-haired handsome face, who else could it be but the outsider who stole their crystal ball? At this moment, Su Yu was facing the vortex with a faint smile on his face. "Everyone from the Azura Forbidden Lands, we will meet again." After saying that, he jumped back and his whole body was submerged in the vortex. "No." The blood demon roared ferociously and turned into a line of blood that rushed out, trying to stop Su Yu. Su Yu's face was as usual, and a dark scale spun out of his chest, blocking in front of his body. The blood demon's claws could even cut the void, but when they fell on the scale, they only scratched a series of sparks and did not hurt Su Yu in the slightest. Su Yu's figure was completely submerged in the vortex and disappeared without a trace. The blood demon was furious. "The control core of the seal cannot be lost, we must find it." The giant eagle sneered. "I really have to thank a few idiots of the wizard tribe who changed the seal without authorization, leaving a loophole in the seal of the first level of heaven, so we had a chance to leave the first level of heaven in a short time and reach the outside world." Swish. He pulled out a bloody vertebra from his back. The vertebra contained an astonishing power of Shura, very similar to the power of the mysterious monster that was sealed on the other side. Swish. The other 3 ferocious beasts also pulled out their spines, enduring the pain. 4 spines full of powerful Azura power were intertwined. After a spin, Su Yu returned to the outside world. Smelling the long-lost clear air, Su Yu felt a little more at ease. "Why did you come out first?" However, a gloomy voice of anxiety and disappointment immediately fell into his ears. When he opened his eyes, it was Chu Long and Ling Wu, who had been waiting outside the Azura Forbidden Lands for half a month. Chu Long's eyes flickered, and he said in a low voice, "Where is Chu Bawang?" "Is it necessary for me to answer you?" Su Yu said. Chu Long had long been accustomed to Su Yu's attitude. He snorted and did not say much, but stared at the vortex with deep anticipation. Ling Wu came over and said, "How many beasts have you hunted?" Su Yu said, "1." Hearing this, Chu Long secretly sneered, and a huge weight was lifted from his heart. After 15 days in, he had only hunted one ferocious beast, which was quite impressive. Ling Wu also showed some contempt and said to himself, "This man does not live up to his name. No matter what, he should not have hunted only one ferocious beast." It seems that the Chu clan's victory has been decided, and there is no doubt about it. "Out of duty," he said, "take out the head of the ferocious beast and the jade pendant I gave you and have a look." Su Yu did as he was told. He first took out the jade pendant, and then took out a huge octopus head. As soon as this thing was taken out, it immediately exuded an extremely fierce aura, especially the residual power of Azura, which had a nearly restraining effect on sorcery. Both Chu Long and Ling Wu were shocked, and they looked over in horror. A level 3 ferocious beast. Ling Wu sucked in a breath of cold air and felt his hair stand on end. He could actually kill a level 3 ferocious beast by himself. The ferocious beasts in the Azura Forbidden Lands killed each other all year round. Their strength was superior, and they were much more powerful than most of the level 3 wizards of the wizard tribe. Su Yu had the power to kill them, which meant that if Su Yu wanted to kill any level 3 wizard, it would not be too difficult. Ling Wu quietly kept his distance from Su Yu and was secretly vigilant. Chu Long, on the other hand, was taken aback because he knew that this octopus was one of the few third heaven ferocious beasts in the first heaven. Their appearance here meant that the 5 experts he sent had failed to capture this octopus alive. They won't have any accidents, will they? Chu Long thought to himself, but he remembered that the 5 of them were following his instructions. The 5 of them traveled together, and if they encountered any danger in the level 1, there should not be any difficulty. The worry in his heart faded away. Ling Wu said solemnly, "A level 3 ferocious beast is worth 10 point. Next, we will wait for Master Chu to come back." He thought to himself that although it was surprising that Su Yu had killed a level 3 ferocious beast, it could not change the outcome. But at that moment, Su Yu curled his lips and said, "If you are waiting for Chu Bawang, I don't think you need to. He is not coming back." Chapter 1420. Literally, he can't come back. Su Yu shrugged. There were usually 2 possibilities for not being able to come back. The first was being trapped, and the second was death. In a dangerous place like the Azura Forbidden Lands, it was obvious that the latter was more likely to be the case. "What did you say?" Chu Bawang's expression changed. "If you dare to lie, I will make you walk sideways." Su Yu looked at Ling Wu calmly. "Lord Ling Wu, as the supervising emissary sent by the sect leader, are you indifferent to threatening the contestants?" Ling Wu had no choice but to come forward and patiently said, "Su Yu, the Chu clan leader cares about his children, so it is understandable that his words are a little impulsive. You should understand." Su Yu smiled faintly and said with an expressionless face, "Well, I certainly understand your feelings now that your son has died. However, all that's left of Chu Bawang is his skin and bones. Will the ferocious beast not return his body and announce the results of the competition?" Ling Wu said, "Today is the end of the competition. If he doesn't come back, it will be regarded as a defeat, and the winner will belong to you." Su Yu crossed his arms in front of his chest and said, "Okay, it's only half a day. I can afford to wait." Misleading the masses with lies. The Bawang has, in short, he has a trump card to protect himself. No matter who dies, he won't die. Chu Long's pupils flickered violently, and there was a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Su Yu said, "What does he have?" "He has 5 elders of the Chu clan to protect him, so he won't die?" "What?" Chu Long's face changed dramatically, and he finally showed a look of fear. He said in surprise, "What did you see?" "It's nothing. It's just 5 heads. If I'm not mistaken, it should be the trump card that your Chu clan is determined to win in this competition," Su Yu said. "Nonsense, how could they be killed?" Chu Long was shocked. Su Yu spread his hands. "I don't need you to believe me. If you don't believe me, just wait patiently for half a day." Half a day passed, and the agreed period of half a month went by bit by bit. Chu Long's eyes stared at the vortex, and his eyes gradually became dry and bloodshot, but he still refused to give up. However, as time went on, his heart became heavier and heavier. With the help of 5 elders at the 3rd heaven, Even if they did not kill enough beasts, they should be able to escort the tyrant back safely. The fact that there was still no movement meant that there were many problems. Ling Wu remained silent. He was also secretly shocked. The 5/3 heaven experts of the Chu clan, as well as the heir of the Chu clan, Chu Bawang, had most likely perished inside. What happened inside? How could the 5 elders not be able to return alive? Finally, the time was up. Although Ling Wu wanted to help the Chu clan, he did not dare to change the rules without permission. With a light sigh, Ling Wu said, "It's a pity that Chu clan master, Chu Bawang, did not return as promised. This is considered a failure. Su Yu is the winner of this competition." Wait. Chu Long turned around. Under the armor, only a pair of eyes were exposed, reflecting a gloomy light. "I suspect that he killed my son, Chu Bawang. Lord Ling Wu, please reveal the truth through the jade pendant," Chu Long said coldly. His whole body emitted an extremely sharp aura. It seemed like he would attack Su Yu at any time. Ling Wu immediately said, "Yes, the request of the Chu clan master is within the scope of permission. Of course, there is no problem." He did not care whether he would hurt Su Yu's reputation and agreed immediately, for fear of offending the Chu clan master. Taking out the jade pendant, Ling Wu activated it on the spot. The jade pendant projected a series of moving pictures, which were the various things that Su Yu had done after entering the Azura Forbidden Lands. Among them, the images of the green figure and the blood demon made their faces change dramatically. Even if it was just a projection, they could feel the horror of the two. They were by no means ordinary level 3 ferocious beast. What made their faces change even more was that there were 5 heads stuck upside down on the top of the mountain. Chu Long was shocked. He recognized at a glance that they were the 5 clan elders he had sent. He had ordered them to capture a few level 3 ferocious beasts alive and bring them to the shore of the Silver Lake to meet Chu Bawang. Who knew that they would all perish? Their eyelids twitched, and their hearts were filled with horror. Then, Su Yu met Wang Qingchen and killed the 8-clawed octopus. Ling Wu nodded. There was no problem with the origin of this object. The key was the death of Chu Bawang. Finally, beside a silver lake, Chu Bawang's figure appeared. Instead of waiting for the 5 clan elders, he found himself in a trap. Not only did he fail to take advantage of Su Yu, but he also became Su Yu's scapegoat and was caught in the vortex. Finally, the scene of Chu Bawang's execution was clearly displayed on the screen. Everything had nothing to do with Su Yu. Chu Long's face was pale, and his heart was filled with grief. He had no choice but to accept the death of Chu Bawang. However, after recovering from his grief, he was filled with inexplicable hatred for Su Yu. If it weren't for Su Yu, would they have had to go to the Azura Forbidden Lands to compete? Would it have led to the death of Chu Bawang? The images continued to flow, and Su Yu said lightly, "Lord Ling Wu, do you have anything else to say?" Ling Wu wanted to help the Chu clan and disqualify Su Yu from winning, but from beginning to end, Su Yu's actions were impeccable. He could only say, "The winner of this competition is Su Yu." Wait. Chu Long clapped his hands, and from the void in the distance, an aircraft that had been hidden for half a month suddenly appeared. From it, 3 old men from the Chu clan leaped out. Each of them had an aura that was no weaker than level 3. Ling Wu was taken aback. He didn't know that there were strong men from the Chu clan hiding nearby. "Chu clan master, what are you doing?" Ling Wu's eyes flickered as he asked. Chu Long's eyes were full of hatred as he stared at Su Yu. "Su Yu killed my son. This is no longer a matter of competition, but a matter of our personal grievances. Today, I must use his blood to pay for the harm my son has suffered. Lord Ling Wu, this matter has nothing to do with you. Please step aside and don't intervene." When Ling Wu heard this, he was overjoyed. He took a step back and watched with folded arms. Su Yu said, "Ling Wu, the Chu clan can't afford to lose and wanted to kill someone. Are you really going to pretend that you didn't see it?" Ling Wu couldn't even get away in time, so how could he dare to speak up for Su Yu? He said with a face of impartiality, "I only have the right to supervise. The competition is over, and I have made a fair ruling. The rest is your personal grievances, and it has nothing to do with me." Hearing this, Su Yu smiled sarcastically. You are too smart for your own good. Ling Wu sneered. It would be foolish of me to help you. Su Yu, pay for my son's life. Chu Long knew that Chu Bawang's death could not be blamed on Su Yu, but the most important thing at the moment was not personal grievances, but bargaining chip. If he did not kill Su Yu, the Chu clan would really have to take out resources that would hurt them greatly. This was a price that the Chu clan could not afford to pay. Therefore, he selected 3 men of sacrifice from the clan to give Su Yu a fatal blow at the last moment, even if the 3 of them suffered the backlash of the Thunder Mark. What a joke! What does your son's life and death have to do with me? Su Yu said. Chu Long shouted, if it weren't for the competition between you and the Bawang, would he have fallen to this point? Su Yu chuckled. Perhaps the Chu clan leader has forgotten that it was your precious son who forced me to make a challenge. You may have also forgotten that in order to ensure victory, it was also you who chose the Azura Forbidden Land to compete. I really don't know how I caused your son's death. Instead of blaming me, it's better to blame yourselves. Su Yu's eyes were full of pity. Sad people always blame others for their mistakes and never reflect on themselves. Chu Long was poked in his sore spot and roared, don't try to argue. Pay for my son's life. Together with Chu Long himself, the 4 top strong men of the Chu clan attacked Su Yu together. However, at this moment, they strangely changed their target and set their attack on Ling Wu. Ling Wu, who was watching from the sidelines, was caught off guard and shouted, what are you doing? In a hurry, he hurriedly resisted. Unfortunately, they were unprepared, and the outcome of a 4-on-1 battle could be imagined. Ling Wu's physical body was destroyed by the 4 strong men, and his soul took the opportunity to escape. However, it was caught by the Chu clan leader. Ling Wu's soul was shocked and angry, and he roared, Chu clan leader, are you trying to rebel? I am the messenger sent by the sect leader. The Chu clan leader sneered. Idiot! If you die here and frame Su Yu, or the escaped ferocious beasts, what can the sect leader do to me? Rest in peace. The Chu clan leader clenched his 5 fingers. Ling Wu was horrified and hurriedly asked Su Yu for help. Brother Su, join forces with me and eradicate the traitor. Su Yu folded his arms and looked on coldly as he had done before. He said lightly, this is a personal grudge between you, and it is not convenient for me to intervene. The same words were thrown back at him. If he helped the Chu clan, Su Yu could ignore it. If he stood by and did nothing, Su Yu could ignore it. However, if he was in trouble, Su Yu would not care. As Su Yu said, he was too clever for his own good. The images in the jade pendant recorded many shocking secrets, such as the Chu clan changing the seals without authorization, which led to the changes in the Azura Forbidden Lands. How could the Chu clan allow this to spread? Therefore, Ling Wu's death was already a foregone conclusion. Unfortunately, he thought that the Chu clan would not dare to do anything to him, and he even intended to stand by and watch. Su Yu could not find a reason to save such a stupid and selfish person. Poof! Chu Long clenched his 5 fingers, and Ling Wu's soul was completely crushed. With a cold smile in his eyes, he said, I can only deal with you with peace of mind after I get rid of the irrelevant people. The 3 elders behind him walked towards Su Yu step by step, their eyes filled with the determination to die. But at that moment, the vortex above their heads suddenly rolled, and the red thunder in it continued to roar, as if it was trying to stop something from coming out. Everyone present was taken aback. Chu Long was surprised. Strange, could it be that the arrangement of the 5 clan elders has finally worked, and a few ferocious beasts from the Azura Forbidden Lands have been released? But then he thought about it and couldn't help but laugh. Heaven is on my side. The ferocious beasts of the Azura Forbidden Lands have appeared, killed Ling Wu, and killed Su Yu. Ha ha ha. Chapter 1421. Chu Long smiled coldly. What a joke. Don't you know who I am? I am the patriarch of the family who guards the Azura Forbidden Lands. If I can't even suppress a few ferocious beasts, how can I hold this position for so many years? Shaking his head, Su Yu looked at him as if he was looking at a dead man. You may not understand what it means to send 5 people to the Azura Forbidden Lands to deal with the Forbidden Land. You really brought this upon yourself. Swish. Su Yu's body was like a phantom, and he immediately left. Chu Long's eyes were cold. Kill him. The three elders immediately attacked Su Yu. However, at that moment, a black lightning cut through the sky above the vortex and flashed past the three elders. Ah! 3 consecutive blood-curdling screams resounded throughout the universe. Chu Long looked back, and his pupils shrank. He saw a half-human, half-eagle creature, each holding an elder with its claws. Its sharp claws pierced through their heads, pinning them to the ground, unable to move. It held one in its mouth, piercing the chest of the elder, greedily sucking the flesh and blood essence in the elder's body. In a breath's time, the 3 experts of the Chu clan were completely annihilated. Chu Long gasped. How could this level of strength be a level 3 ferocious beast? In terms of speed alone, it was comparable to the supreme existence of level 2. However, the vortex roared, and 3 more figures descended. Among them, the blood-red ferocious shadow was even more terrifying than the giant eagle. Chu Long's feet were cold. Through the image, he sensed the danger of the blood demon, but in front of him, he was shocked to find that this blood demon was several times more terrifying. Looking at the fate of the 3 strong men of the clan, Chu Long hurriedly took out a black token. It was the item that controlled the Azura Forbidden Lands, inherited from the hands of the wizard ancestor. Without saying a word, he bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a large mouthful of grayish-white blood, which fell on the token. The token immediately emitted a mysterious light, and the vortex of the Azura Forbidden Lands above his head suddenly sped up. The blood demon and the others suddenly felt their bodies locked in place, and they were involuntarily swept into the vortex. Seeing this, Chu Long felt a little relieved. Fortunately, although the escaped ferocious beasts were too terrifying, the situation was still under control. However, the next moment, a scene that made Chu Long stiffen appeared. The 4 beasts took out a bloody spine one after another and held it tightly in their hands. The spine emitted a powerful Azura power, which actually resisted the suction force of the vortex. The 4 ferocious beasts stabilized themselves, their eyes glinting with ferocity. The blue figure sneered, "Big brother blood demon, it seems our luck isn't too bad. We just came out and we ran into the patriarch of the Azura Forbidden Land. The token in his hand is the key to controlling the first layer of the seal." The duckbill beast said, "That's not all. As the patriarch of the Guardian family, his bloodline power is the strongest. Perhaps his blood alone is enough to completely dissolve the last 20% of the seal on Master." The eagle's sharp eyes stared deeply at the token in Chu Long's hand. With this token, we will no longer be limited in the time we can leave the first heaven. We can even open the first heaven and lead our Shura world's army to occupy a piece of land." Hearing their discussion, Zhao Long's hair stood on end. He finally realized how stupid it was for him to send 5 clan elders to change the seal of the second heaven. The blood demon grinned, "You 3 deal with the patriarch of the Guardian family. I'll deal with this kid myself." From beginning to end, the blood demon had never taken the initiative to attack, but he was the strongest of the 4 ferocious beasts. The giant eagle sighed, "I haven't seen Big Brother in action for a long time." The blue figure and the duckbill beast showed excitement in their eyes. "It has indeed been a long time since I saw Big Brother in action." Under everyone's gaze, the blood demon slowly walked towards Su Yu, his anger surging. Su Yu's eyes were solemn. Compared with the octopus, the blood demon was on a completely different level. In terms of breath alone, 10 octopuses were not necessarily a match for the blood demon. Swoosh, without thinking, Su Yu immediately chose to escape. The blood demon grinned, as if looking at the prey he was about to chase. His body shook, and a pair of wide blood-red wings appeared behind him. With a flap, he turned into a flash of blood-red lightning and chased after Su Yu. His speed was even faster than the giant eagle. Big brother indeed. The giant eagle's eyes were full of envy and jealousy. Immediately, his sharp eagle eyes turned and stared at Chu Long, saying, "Third brother, fourth brother, let's attack together, don't show any mercy." Soon, a desperate battle broke out here. As for Su Yu, while he was still flying, he felt the extremely fast power behind him. His eyes were full of concentration, and without thinking, he formed a seal with his hands and immersed himself in a powerful and unparalleled state. Suddenly, the shocking fighting intent seemed to come from ancient time and space, descending with a rumble. The blood demon showed a trace of surprise in his eyes. This move was still fresh in his memory. Humph. In the absence of preparation, this move may still be a threat to me, but now. The blood demon held the bloody spine in his hand and waved it in the air. Kai. In an instant, a long crack appeared in the space. An earth-shattering Azura power crushed the battle will. The remaining power penetrated the fighting intent and went straight to Su Yu. Su Yu immediately activated the reverse scale of the World Annihilation Dragon to block the remaining power. Bang! There was a loud bang. Although the reverse scale of the World Annihilation Dragon could neutralize the threat of the power of Azura, it could not neutralize the huge force carried by it. Su Yu's body flew backward, and there was a mouthful of blood in his mouth. His muscles and bones seemed to have been crushed, and there was no part of him that was not in pain. You are not dead. The scale on your chest seems to be unusual, the blood demon said indifferently. The blood demon said indifferently. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, he swung the spine in his hand again without any warning. This time, it was a full blow. Even if the reverse scale of the World Annihilation Dragon could block it, it would still be killed. At this critical moment, Su Yu's whole body shone with divine light, and 4,000 divine path phantoms stood behind him. The endless divine light merged into one, forming a terrible beam of light. It went against the flow and fought with the power of Azura. The two extreme forces collided and intersected in the air, producing a destructive aftermath. The three ferocious beasts, who were about to end the battle, looked shocked. The giant eagle's left claw was pressing down on a head that had died with its eyes wide open, and its right claw was holding a black token. Staring at the battle in the distance, the giant eagle was shocked. He can actually fight boss blood demon to a draw. The pupils of the green figure and the duckbill beast also shrank. 4,000 divine paths. Among the divine paths, there is such a strange talent. The duckbill beast's eyes narrowed. I have heard of many nature-defying children who became gods through the divine paths. Their divine paths are different from the others, and even the positions of gods that they eventually obtained are different from those of ordinary divine paths. However, such people are all nature-defying talents collected by the Pathmaster. How could there be one of them here? The giant eagle said, "Let's go and help first." Boom. At this time, the two forces suddenly broke out with an unprecedented impact. A white wave of light that was visible to the naked eye radiated all around. The giant eagle and the others who were about to rush over were shocked and retreated. The green figure's movement was slightly slower, and he was swept by the white light. In an instant, he turned into ashes. Fourth brother. The giant eagle and the duckbill beast roared, but they could only watch helplessly as the green figure's body turned into dust and drifted away. They retreated until they were millions of miles away before they escaped to a safe area. When the white light subsided, they were shocked by the scene in front of them. There was no longer any land there. It had all been razed to the ground, leaving only magma deep underground gushing out, turning millions of miles of mountains and rivers into a sea of fire. The atmosphere had also been swept away. All the spiritual energy and air had been swept away and turned into a vacuum state. Even the sky above had been swept away with a spatial crack that covered an area of countless miles. Looking at the shocking scene, the giant eagle and the duckbill beast, who were lucky enough to survive, swallowed hard. This nature-defying talent is too terrifying. The duckbill beast was shocked. The giant eagle said solemnly, "I wonder how Big Brother Blood Demon is doing." After waiting for a moment to make sure that the white light would not appear again, the giant eagle carefully flew to the center of the battlefield. In the center of a magma lake, a blood-colored figure was kneeling on the ground on one knee while holding a spine in his right hand. His left hand was tightly covering his chest. The giant eagle hurriedly flew over and said, "Big brother." When he saw the injuries of the blood demon, the giant eagle's face changed dramatically. The blood demon's chest had been swept away, and he had lost all his internal organs. His head also seemed to have been hollowed out, leaving only an empty skull. Only his hands and feet were intact. His breath was also on the verge of extinction. A strange light flashed through the giant eagle's eyes. Just as he was about to think, the blood demon suddenly raised his empty head and said coldly, "What are you thinking about? Hurry up and heal my injuries." The giant eagle was shocked and immediately took out his spine, releasing the power of Azura to heal the blood demon's injuries. After a long time, the blood demon's abdomen was restored, and most of his head was restored. The duckbill beast rushed over at this time. Looking at the injuries of the blood demon, he gasped. "This is the first time Big Brother has been so seriously injured." The blood demon said coldly, 4,000 divine paths, this is a nature-defying talent that only the Pathmaster is qualified to collect. It is not surprising that he could fight me to a draw. Big Brother, what about him? Is he dead? The duckbill beast glanced around but did not find Su Yu's shadow. The blood demon said, he has left. The giant eagle and the duckbill beast looked at each other and saw the horror in each other's eyes. Did that mean that the human race was better? The blood demon snorted coldly. His injuries are worse than mine. Hearing this, the two of them breathed a sigh of relief. However, the giant eagle's eyes flashed with disappointment. You two heal me together and try to recover 30% of my strength. I will search for this person with you. The blood demon said fiercely, even without the crystal ball, I intend to hunt him down to the end. Such a nature-defying talent, if not eradicated, will sooner or later become a great threat to the Azura world. In this regard, the giant eagle and the duckbill beast had no objection and nodded in agreement. Swish, somewhere in the Blackwood forest, in a group of ancient trees, a silver-haired handsome young man covered in blood fell from a high altitude, smashed into a giant tree, and then rolled to the ground. Every bone in his body was broken, and his flesh was badly mutilated. Green energy constantly flowed out of his chest, repairing his body. Even so, this green energy that was full of life energy could not be recovered quickly. Layers of obscure Azura power could be seen in his body from time to time, constantly wandering and destroying the body that had just been repaired. Therefore, this injury could not be completely healed in a short time. However, the enemy would not give him enough time. Lying under the tree, Su Yu could not move his limbs, quietly waiting for his body to recover. 2 hours later, Su Yu suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were solemn, and his left hand, which was barely able to move, rested on the space ring, ready to use something. Because something powerful was approaching. Until the figure of the person appeared, Su Yu was stunned and frowned. Have you been following me? Chapter 1422. Sort of, I said I would repay the favor, the person in front of him said calmly. Su Yu put down his finger and sighed slightly. You chose the worst time. The woman in front of him was Wu Xin, the helm leader Wu Xin, who wanted to repay the kindness with her life. Su Yu was in a very dangerous situation at the moment, and Wu Xin came. Perhaps her own words would come true, she would sacrifice herself for Su Yu. Don't worry too much. During the half a month you entered the Azura Forbidden Lands, I have been preparing for today, Wu Xin said. If I save you, the kindness between us will be written off, and I can leave the lost nation with peace of mind. After all, she was too ashamed to face the mistress of the greatest Saint Lady Temple, and she wanted to leave. At this point, Su Yu could no longer drive her away. He said, then I will have to trouble you. Wu Xin nodded calmly, helped Su Yu up, and quickly left the place. Soon after, a cave hidden in the deep forest appeared in front of the two of them. This cave was a temporary stronghold opened by the wizard tribe during the war between the god realm and the wizard tribe. It goes straight underground and extends in all directions. After entering, it will take a long time for the enemy to track us down. Wu Xin explained, gently sweeping away the dust in front of the cave, and led Su Yu into the cave. Wait. Su Yu said with difficulty. He gathered the little divine power he had and swept away the footprints outside the cave, as well as the smell. Finally, he deliberately shook off a layer of dust with his divine power to cover up the traces of the cave entrance. Wu Xin saw this and couldn't help but praise, you are so meticulous. When it comes to dealing with danger, I am an old antique who has lived for many years, but I am not as good as you. The cave was indeed a different world. It went straight underground, and the underground passages were complicated. Along the way, Su Yu found at least tens of thousands of passages of different sizes and directions. If the blood demon wanted to chase after them, it might really cost a lot. Su Yu and Wu Xin chose an inconspicuous ordinary passage and entered it, recuperating in an abandoned stone room in the passage. I have good healing elixirs here, Wu Xin said. Su Yu shook his head. My injury is secondary. The power of Azura that invaded my body is the key. I only need time now. How long? 1 day is enough. Wu Xin's eyes were calm. You rest well, I will protect you. Su Yu nodded, then revolved the Milky Way star sand and concentrated on extracting the Azura power that had invaded his body. Half a day had passed, and the power of Azura in Su Yu's body had weakened significantly. His injured body had finally begun to recover. However, it would still take half a day for him to recover to his peak. Rumble, however, at this moment, a strange sound came from outside the passageway. It seemed that some creature had passed by the house and accidentally touched the metal objects scattered on the ground. The look in Wu Xin's eyes suddenly became fierce. He suddenly got up and went to the front of the house. Sticking to the door, he held his breath with rapt attention and listened to the movements outside. Su Yu's nerves tensed up. He had not fully recovered from his injuries, and if he were to force himself to fight, he would not be a match for the 3 ferocious beasts. All of a sudden, Wu Xin seized the opportunity and opened the door. His palm swallowed and spat out an astonishing amount of wizard power. The living beings outside clearly did not expect that there would be people in the underground tunnel that had been abandoned for so long. He didn't even have time to scream before he was killed by Wu Xin's palm. Su Yu walked over and fixed his gaze on it. A curious look appeared on his face. The intruder was not one of the 3 ferocious beasts, but a soldier from the God Realm. An enemy of the God Realm? Wu Xin was also surprised. How did they come to the underground tunnel? Su Yu thought for a moment and said in a low voice, I'm afraid we have to leave this place quickly. This tunnel is not a good place to be. The appearance of the citizen of the God Realm made Wu Xin aware of the danger. He nodded slightly. We can't stay any longer. We will leave through another tunnel. The exit of that tunnel leads directly to the outside of Fan Capital. We can reach the safe area as soon as possible. Even with the insolence of the 3 ferocious beasts, they would not dare to openly invade Fan Capital. The masters and many powerful treasures guarding Fan Capital were enough to make it a one-way trip. I have recovered 30% of my combat power. If I don't encounter the 3 ferocious beasts, there shouldn't be a big problem, Su Yu said. The 2 of them left immediately after saying that. Not long after they left, another soldier from the God Realm rushed over silently. He squatted down to examine the injuries of the deceased. His eyes were focused, and he immediately took out a jade pendant. He said in a low voice, the wizard tribesmen have invaded the underground tunnel. Please inform the general immediately to block all the major exits. Do not let the wizard tribesmen leak the news of this place. 2 hours later, they came to the end of a tunnel. The glaring sunlight outside made it difficult for them to open their eyes. Wu Xin supported Su Yu and was about to leave when she found that Su Yu's feet seemed to be rooted to the ground. She couldn't move him. Looking back, she saw that Su Yu's face was full of vigilance. His pair of eyes had turned pale white, and there was a mysterious aura that could see through everything. There is an ambush outside. The God Realm soldiers have set up an ambush here. Su Yu's eyes were bright. He didn't think that the God Realm soldiers would be warm and courteous after discovering that Su Yu was a wanted criminal of the 4 great empires. Not to mention the fact that there was a genuine wizard by his side. Let's look for other exits. Su Yu finished looking, and his eyes were focused. There are 2 level 3 deities guarding the exit. If I were at my peak, I could still break through with you. Now, it's too dangerous. Wu Xin said, there are other passageways. However, at that moment, Wu Xin and Su Yu shuddered at the same time. A tyrannical aura quickly approached them, as if it had firmly locked them in place. Then, another aura followed. Not long after, a third aura approached. They quickly found Su Yu's location and sped away. It's them. Sure enough, they found us. Su Yu wasn't too surprised. There was still the power of Azura left in his body, and it was only a matter of time before they found him. Delaying them for half a day was already a good result. Su Yu turned to look at the exit and gritted his teeth. We can only take the risk and break through. Go. Wu Xin was indifferent to life and death. She stood in front of Su Yu and said without looking back, "I'll hold off the 2 level 3 deities outside. You escape alone." Her tone was light and indifferent, as if she was talking about something ordinary. However, if that was the case, she would stay here forever. "If I really escape like this, I won't be able to live in peace for the rest of my life. I just want to live with a clear conscience," Su Yu said, bypassing Wu Xin and walking to the front. The space ring between his fingers flickered, and a jade tombstone fell into his hand. Stroking the tombstone, Su Yu said helplessly, "If my guess is correct, whether we can get out of here today all depends on this tombstone." Wu Xin was surprised and looked at the tombstone in confusion. In her senses, there was nothing special about the tombstone. It was no different from ordinary jade. "What is this?" Wu Xin asked in surprise. Chapter 14:23. If someone else had said this, she would not have believed it. But Su Yu's words, she inexplicably believed it. Swoosh. Su Yu activated his divine power, condensed a clone, and suddenly rushed out of the exit. As a result, the exit was already hidden, and a long-prepared formation was immediately activated. The formation released a beam of light as thick as a thumb, intersecting in the air to form a fine giant net, penetrating Su Yu's clone at lightning speed. The clone was immediately cut into thumb-sized cubes by the giant net and scattered on the ground. Only after activating the formation did Su Yu move his body and fly out. Tumph, he escaped from our cave. On both sides of the stone cave exit, 2 powerful level 3 deities appeared, their bodies filled with divine light. On the left was an old man in a yellow robe, saying, "Immediately inform the rest to come to this exit and block them." On the right was a middle-aged bald man with a fat head and big ears, who sneered, "It's just a wizard, the 2 of us are enough." Swish. At this time, Su Yu and Wu Xin flew out one after another. Su Yu did not dare to be careless in the slightest. Enduring his injuries, he activated the Heaven Fighting 3 strokes. The boundless fighting intent surged like a tsunami, rumbling out of the stone cave. The yellow-robed man and the fat middle-aged man were shocked and immediately joined forces to activate their divine power, condensing it into a wall of defense. Crack! As the fighting intent passed, their defense held on for 3 breaths before it broke. The yellow-robed old man's face changed dramatically. "Get out of the way." Swish. The 2 of them barely dodged, and the invincible fighting intent tore the wall of divine power and rushed straight into the sky. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Su Yu and Wu Xin escaped from the blockade and rushed in the direction of Fan Capital. "Quickly chase after them," the yellow-robed old man said. The fat middle-aged man was puzzled and could not help but hesitate. "That kid, why does he look so familiar? Where have I seen him?" As soon as he said this, the yellow-robed old man's anxious face was also surprised. "You think so too? I thought it was an illusion." The 2 of them looked at each other with some surprise. All of a sudden, a bolt of lightning flashed in the plump middle-aged man's mind, illuminating his heart. He suddenly remembered where he had seen Su Yu before, and said in shock, "Elder Huang, isn't he the most wanted criminal of the 4 great empires, Su Yu?" Hearing this, the yellow-robed old man was shocked. "So it's him. No wonder it looked so familiar." Soon after, his aged eyes were filled with ecstasy. The world's most wanted criminal, Su Yu. The 4 great dynasties had issued a joint order to capture him. Anyone who could capture him alive would be able to learn the secret skills of the 4 great imperial sacred factions. You can also choose any imperial sacred faction and be worshipped for eternity. From then on, you will have an inexhaustible supply of training resources. The yellow-robed elder repeated the rewards for Su Yu's arrest. It was a temptation that no god could resist. Even a level 3 deity would not be able to resist such tempting conditions. Their breathing quickened at the same time, and their pupils constricted, flickering with an ecstatic light. Their hearts pounded as if they had seen a great opportunity that belonged to them. "Should we inform the commander?" The obese middle-aged man realized a problem. The yellow-robed old man was extremely hesitant, uneasy, and reluctant. After a while, he gritted his teeth and said, "Forget it. Whether we can be rich for a lifetime, whether we can achieve the divine path, depends on whether we can seize this opportunity." The obese middle-aged man's face flashed with fear, but he was overwhelmed by the huge reward in front of him and said, "Yes, since it is an opportunity, there must be risks. Let's fight." The two looked at each other and decided not to spread the news of Suyu's appearance. They would hunt him down in private. Swish. Shortly after the two left, 3 figures flashed out of the stone cave. It was the seriously injured blood demon, the giant eagle, and the duckbill beast. "Humph, it seems that he has a lot of enemies." The blood demon clutched his painful chest and sneered. "That's the best. We can wait for the mantis to show up." The giant eagle and the duckbill beast both sneered and followed them silently. This escape lasted for more than half a day. In the middle of it, Suyu used the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole once, consuming almost all of the divine power that he had recovered. Even so, they still couldn't escape the pursuit. After flying for half a day, they were finally caught up. Swoosh. The yellow-robed elder and the obese middle-aged man blocked Suyu's way forward and retreat. Both of them were a little surprised and became extremely cautious. Suyu really had incredible abilities, just as the rumors said. Even with their cultivation, they had almost lost him. If the other party hadn't been seriously injured, Suyu would have escaped. "Suyu, you have no way to escape," the yellow-robed elder shouted. "As a citizen of the god realm, you have colluded with the enemies of the wizard tribe. This is a great crime. It is not too late to turn back now." The obese middle-aged man said in a slightly relaxed tone, "If you are willing to go with us, the two of us can clarify to the god realm and guarantee your safety." In this regard, Wu Xin was unmoved, and her face was exceptionally cold. "Oh, if I go with you, then you will receive the reward from the 4 great imperial sacred factions?" Suyu asked. The two of them were stunned. They thought that Suyu was hiding in the Lost Nation and didn't know about the outside world. They didn't expect him to know so much. "Since you know, we are not afraid to tell you. Come with us honestly, and you will suffer less physical pain. Otherwise, there are many people in the god realm who hate you, and they can't wait for us to torture you." Among them, the king of the Shui nation hated him the most. Suyu could be said to have destroyed the entire royal family of the Shui nation, leaving no one alive. With such a deep blood feud, he naturally hated Suyu to the core. "That depends on whether you have the ability to capture me," Suyu said. The yellow-robed elder and the obese elder exchanged a look and moved together. They attacked from the front and back, giving Suyu a thunderous blow that he couldn't resist. Bang! However, at this moment, a figure flickered, his hands forming a seal, and invisible waves of sorcery swept out. The obese middle-aged man's face was solemn, and he didn't dare to be careless. He took out a piece of the trunk of the soul-stabilizing wood and hung it around his neck. The waves of sorcery immediately weakened a lot. He dealt with it carefully and barely dissolved the sorcery. The obese middle-aged man's face was solemn, and he shouted, "Elder Huang, finish this quickly. This witch is not an ordinary level 3 wizard. She is very dangerous, and I can't hold on for long." Elder Huang's figure did not change, and he went straight to Suyu, saying, "Don't worry, she is at the end of her tether, and I alone can take care of her." Swish! Elder Huang attacked like lightning, and Suyu was easily seized by Elder Huang before he could react. The sharp pain from his shoulder armor made Suyu groan. Elder Huang was stunned that he had easily captured Suyu without any resistance, but he was immediately overjoyed, as if he had caught a great opportunity that belonged to him. "Stop right now, or I will kill him right away," Elder Huang shouted at Wu Xin. Wu Xin immediately gave up on attacking the obese middle-aged man. Her eyes were anxious, and she shouted coldly, "Let him go. If you dare to hurt him, I, Wu Xin, swear that I will never let you leave the Lost Nation alive." The obese middle-aged man met up with the yellow-robed elder, and his heart was at ease. He said, "Humph. You will have to find us first. Elder Huang, a long night is fraught with trouble, let's go now." Elder Huang nodded, grabbed Suyu, and rose into the air, ready to fly away. However, just as they were about to leave, 3 ferocious and tyrannical breaths descended from the clouds without warning. Looking up, they saw a giant eagle that was half human and half eagle, carrying 2 creatures as it swooped down. The yellow-robed elder and the obese middle-aged man were taken aback. What kind of creature is that? It was neither a god nor a wizard, so they did not know what it was. But no matter what it was, it did not come with good intentions. Formation, defense. The yellow-robed elder and the obese middle-aged man joined forces to put up a defense. Screech. The giant eagle let out a loud screech, and its huge body did not retreat. Instead, it moved forward, cutting through the sky at a faster speed, and swooped down. Crack. The defense they had condensed was shattered in an instant, and the two of them were shaken by the giant eagle's power. Su Yu, who had been captured by them, slipped out of their hands, and was quickly protected by Wu Xin. She looked at Su Yu with surprise and admiration. She did not believe that Su Yu had been captured alive before he could react. Obviously, he had deliberately lured out the 3 ferocious beasts that were chasing him. The 3 ferocious beasts were most likely playing the game of the third party, waiting for both sides to be injured, and then easily cleaning up the situation. Unfortunately, Su Yu would not let himself be captured as they wished. In that case, how could they sit back and wait for Su Yu to be taken away? Naturally, they had to show up and compete with the 2 strong men of the divine path. The blood demon jumped off the giant eagle, his eyes fixed on Su Yu. He said, "Second brother, third brother, you take care of the 2 divine path cultivators. Leave Su Yu and the witch to me." Despite being seriously injured, the blood demon still had unparalleled strength. Drip. A drop of dark grey blood flowed from the spine in his palm. The spine seemed to have been stimulated, emitting an even more powerful Azura power. Wu Xin's eyes flashed coldly, and she leaped up. "I will stop him. You go down, I will catch up with you later." She could see that it was best not to use the jade tombstone until the critical moment. It was bound to be a weapon that would hurt both sides. She was confident that she could put up a fight against the seriously injured blood demon. Sorcery traversing the world. Wu Xin performed the sorcery, and her body split into 2, 2 into 4, and 4 into 8. The 8 figures performed the same sorcery at the same time. Deadly curse. This curse was the most advanced sorcery that the mistress of the Saint Lady Temple could practice, and it had the dangerous power to take away one's soul in an instant. Together with the sorcery traversing the world, the 8 of them performed it at the same time, and the power was terrifying. However, the blood demon just held the spine in his hand and swept it across coldly. An unparalleled Azura power swept out, not only wiping out the 8 sorcery at the same time, but also shattering the 8 figures one by one. One of the shattered figures was Wu Xin's real body. Her whole body was torn into countless pieces, turning into a rain of blood that filled the sky. However, at the last moment, a dark grey power emerged from her flesh and blood, reassembling her body and restoring it to a complete body. This was similar to the regenerative power of the octopus, but it was a different approach. However, Wu Xin's face was pale, and the sorcery power in her body was exhausted. She was extremely weak and had completely lost the power to fight. It was extremely difficult for her to support her body. She was panting heavily, and her forehead was covered in cold sweat. She cast an apologetic look at Su Yu. "I'm sorry that I couldn't help you." Su Yu walked over, patted her on the shoulder, and said, "It's enough. The fact that you are not dead is the best ending." After saying that, Su Yu held the jade tombstone in his hand and stared at the blood demon. "In every sense, you will die here." As he spoke, he crushed the tombstone. With a cracking sound, the tombstone shattered into pieces, but it actually didn't erupt with any powerful force. However, everyone suddenly noticed that there was a fierce and chilling aura nearby, as if an ancient ferocious beast was rapidly awakening from its slumber. Chapter 14:24. Boom. Thunder roared in the sky, and the earth trembled inexplicably. The weak creatures within a radius of thousands of miles seemed to have sensed something instinctively and fled in horror. At the end of the world, strange clouds loomed, appearing and disappearing from time to time. The whole world was illuminated in an unpredictable way, giving people a strange feeling. The sudden appearance of a strange phenomenon in heaven and earth meant that a demon must have been born. The blood demon, the giant eagle, and the duckbill beast, who were killing the 2 deities, suddenly turned around with surprise in their eyes. "This breath is..." The blood demon's ferocious face was filled with disbelief, and he exclaimed, "Dead soul worm." A piece of broken tombstone was gradually covered in cracks. The fierce aura was coming from this piece of broken tombstone. POW. A voice that was not very loud rang out softly. In the roar of thunder, it seemed very weak and almost negligible. However, in the ears of the people present, it was like the sky had collapsed. An extremely evil breath seemed to have swept out from the wild ancient times, causing them to feel an inexplicable sense of panic. It was as if what came out of the palm-sized broken tombstone was not a small creature, but an ancient ferocious beast that could devour heaven and earth. The broken tombstone shattered, revealing a space vortex the size of a thumb hidden inside. From within the space vortex, there was a squeaking sound, and then a pitch-black dot slowly flew out from it. This worm was completely black, and it looked ferocious and ferocious. The most amazing thing about it was that it had an extremely powerful deterrent effect on souls. At least, Suyu's soul felt extreme fear and uneasiness. This was not the first time that Suyu had encountered a similar scene. It really is a dead soul worm. Suyu's eyes lit up. In the demonic dimension, he had obtained a dead soul worm at the level of a middle-level deity who had failed to pass the ordeal. With just a wisp of will, it almost killed the demonic god of 6 paths of level 2. However, the dead soul worm in front of him was in a completely intact state. When Wu Xin saw this thing, her face turned extremely pale. The triple morph worm. The dead soul worm was the sorcerer tribe's 3rd watch worm. In the past, it had poisoned the lord of the Holy Saint Temple and the mistress of the Saint Lady Temple. Its poison was so potent that it was feared by the people of the sorcerer tribe. They regarded it as the most terrifying thing in the Azura Forbidden Land. Yes, this is indeed the worm. Its true identity is the dead soul worm, Suyu said. After listening to Wang Qingchen describe the horror of the 3 metamorphosis worm, Suyu thought of a kind of worm, the dead soul worm. He had carefully studied this insect in the ancient records of the god realm. Its origins were unknown, and it was extremely rare. Even in the ancient era, it was a creature that had almost gone extinct. It was ranked 3rd. Its ranking far surpassed that of the Chaos 5-colored butterfly. Matured dead soul worms had the heaven-defying ability to devour the souls of all living beings. When it was still immature, although its devouring ability was not as strong, it possessed an incomparable poison. If one was bitten by a level 2 deity, they would be poisoned for life. From this point of view, it would be worse than death. It was extremely terrifying. When Suyu learned that the so-called 3 transformation worm possessed a heaven-defying poison that could easily kill a level 3 strong man, he guessed the true identity of the 3 transformation worm. Now, it seemed that it was true. Wu Xin was surprised. How did you know that this 3 transformation worm, the dead soul worm, was hiding in the jade tombstone? Suyu looked at the small space vortex that had been constructed and said, "I have been to the ruins where the Lord of the Holy Saint Temple was buried, but I could not find the remains of the Lord of the Holy Saint Temple. The only explanation is that his remains were used to construct the space vortex. The construction of space was to forcibly open up another space in the original space. In order to prevent the newly created space from being squeezed and shattered by the outside space, it needed to be stabilized. There were many ways to stabilize space, such as using the indestructible bones of strong men. When he realized that the bones of the Lord of the Holy Saint Temple were missing, Suyu speculated that there was a hidden space nearby, which was most likely used by the 3 transformation worm. When his gaze swept across the jade tombstone, Suyu felt a subtle spatial fluctuation, confirming that the 3 transformation worm was hiding in the jade tombstone. In order to prevent Wang Qingchen from waking up the 3 transformation worm without his knowledge and causing a fatal disaster, Suyu calmly asked for the thing. He had wanted to seal it quietly to prevent the dead soul worm from coming out and harming the world, but now that things had come to this, he had no choice but to release it as a trump card to hurt others and himself. There was dead silence all around, and the insects, fish, birds, and beasts seemed to be silent at the same time. The 5 level 3 strong men in the sky were also stiff, not daring to move, staring straight at the dead soul worm in front of them. The dead soul worm shook its wings, as if it had just woken up from a deep sleep and was a little dazed. But soon, A pair of dark red eyes exuded an aura more ferocious than that of the blood demon. Bloodthirst, greed, and ferocious will condensed together and shot out from its eyes. At this moment, no one dared to move, because it would be very easy for the dead soul worm to think that it was a provocation. The dead soul worm looked around at the people present with cold eyes, and its bloodthirsty will grew stronger. It had already regarded the people present as its first breakfast after waking up. Suddenly, when it glanced at Su Yu, it was startled, and its bloodthirsty eyes were filled with doubt. Next, it spat out the language of insects that others could not understand, and squeaked. Surprisingly, Su Yu could understand it and responded in the same language. I didn't expect that the dead soul worm would still leave its aura on me. The dead soul worm was asking why Su Yu had the aura of its kind on him. Where is it? The dead soul worm seemed a little excited. Su Yu said, it died a long time ago. It must have failed to break through to become a middle god and fell. The fierce eyes of the dead soul worm flashed a trace of sadness, and it sighed with mixed emotions. Is my sister dead too? I am the only dead soul worm left in this world. Su Yu's heart moved. Was that dead soul worm its sister? Xianming Pathmaster, you have caused my dead soul worm lineage to suffer so much. The fierce eyes of the dead soul worm were filled with hatred. I want to be strong, I want revenge. Immediately, its eyes stared coldly at Su Yu. Stand still and don't move. I will eat them first, and then I will ask you for details. With that, a black light flashed, and it pounced on the nearest blood demon. The blood demon was horrified, and subconsciously raised the spine in his hand in front of him. Crack! To the horror of the blood demon, his spine, which was filled with the boundless power of Azura, was bitten through by the dead soul worm. The power of Azura in the spine was swallowed by the dead soul worm, and the spine was quickly sucked empty. The blood demon was shocked and hurriedly threw away the dead soul worm, retreated with the giant eagle and the duckbill beast, and said in horror, Go. We are no match for the dead soul worm. Whoosh! How could the giant eagle dare to hesitate? Immediately, it flapped its huge wings, carrying the two of them quickly flew into the sky, and disappeared in an instant. They could not even care about Su Yu. From the spine that was thrown on the ground, a black worm covered in blood drilled out, looking even more ferocious and ferocious. It sneered as it looked at the leaving giant eagle and the other two, spread its wings, turned into black lightning, and suddenly flew away. Before leaving, it stared at the four people present and said, Stand here and don't go. I have remembered your breaths. Don't try to escape my pursuit by luck. There are no more than 3 creatures in the world who are more sensitive to breaths than I am. Su Yu had no doubt about this. Back then, he had only been in contact with its sister. However, after such a long time, he did not notice the residual breath on his body, but it detected it at once. Wu Xin's face was pale. Facing the dead soul worm with her own eyes, she found that she could not muster any resistance. Don't move, we still have a chance of survival, Su Yu said, his mind constantly turning, thinking of ways to move the dead soul worm. The yellow mountain elder and the fat middle-aged man looked desperate, and their hearts were horrified. The dead soul worm was famous. As the people of the divine path who ruled the Xing River, of course, they knew it. Even if the rulers of the 4 empires encountered this worm, they would be afraid, let alone them. The Yellow Mountain Elder crushed the jade pendant in his sleeve and decisively said, reporting to the commander, We have found traces of Su Yu, please send reinforcements quickly. At this moment, they also gave up the idea of taking Su Yu for themselves and resolutely decided to ask for reinforcement. Neither side moved. Su Yu was seriously injured, and his divine power was weak, so he could not compete with the 2 level 3 deities. The other side was afraid of the dead soul worm and did not dare to act rashly. In this way, time passed bit by bit, and they waited patiently. If the reinforcements came back first, Su Yu would definitely die. If the dead soul worm came back first, the yellow-robed elder and the fat middle-aged man would definitely die. At this moment, a sharp scream resounded in the sky. Then, a black lightning cut through the sky and swooped down, with the blood demon and the giant eagle standing on it. The dead soul worm did not kill them, and they escaped. However, the blood demon's body was already seriously injured. His body was hollowed out, and only 10% of his vitality was left, barely supporting his movement. However, the giant eagle and the duckbill beast were not seriously injured. As soon as the giant eagle appeared, it pierced the fat middle-aged man and the yellow-robed elder with its sharp claws. The latter was alert and responsive, and he narrowly avoided being hit in the vital parts, but his arm was torn off by the claws. However, the fat middle-aged man was not so lucky. His body and soul were crushed by the claws, and he died on the spot. The yellow-robed elder was shocked. He did not dare to wait for the dead soul worm to return, and he fled in a hurry. The giant eagle sneered and did not chase. The yellow-robed elder only thought that if he gave up on Suyu, the three ferocious beasts would let him go. Just as he was about to leave this place, suddenly, from the void in front of him, a giant duckbeak-shaped mouth appeared abruptly from the void and clamped the yellow-robed elder. This clamp caused the yellow-robed elder to be clamped into two parts in an instant, and he died with a scream. At this time, the invisible duckbill beast was revealed. It walked in front of Suyu with the giant eagle and the blood demon. The blood demon endured the injury and said fiercely, "Man proposes, God disposes. Your registration trump card has encountered an accident." Accident? Suyu was secretly shocked. With the power of the dead soul worm, how could it encounter an accident? Second brother, take his life immediately. Don't give him any more chances. This person is too cunning, and we must not give him any chances, the blood demon said decisively. Since the beginning of the fight, Suyu's various tricks and schemes had made him wary. Chapter 14:25. Third brother, you stop that witch, the blood demon ordered. The duckbill beast carried out the order. The giant eagle was slightly dissatisfied, but he still walked towards Suyu, his giant claws suddenly stabbing towards Suyu's head. At this moment, Suyu could not activate the World Annihilation Dragon's reverse scale and was about to be killed on the spot. However, Suyu looked calm and said, "Are you really willing to submit to the blood demon? All the credit belongs to the blood demon alone, but all the hard work is yours. Without you, how could I have caught up with Wang Qingchen so easily? Without you, how could I have caught up with me so quickly? Without you, how could I have protected the seriously injured blood demon?" The giant eagle's claws stopped abruptly, and he shouted in a deep voice, "What do you want to say?" "Oh, you know what I want to say." Suyu's eyes shone with wisdom. The giant eagle shook his head slightly and said, "Don't waste your time. For the sake of the master, I am willing to do everything, even if there is only hard work and no credit." After that, he was about to kill Suyu. However, Suyu said, "Oh? Do you really think that the master's coming out of isolation will benefit you? Look, the blood demon, who is your nominal brother, has never treated you as a brother. I think you are more like a subordinate, giving orders at every turn. Who will the master remember when he comes out of isolation? Will he remember you as a subordinate, or the blood demon, the commander?" I said, "I don't care about fame and fortune," the giant eagle said coldly. Suyu said, "But you must care about your life. You are united now because you have a common goal. But if you are still willing to bow down to the blood demon forever after rescuing Master, you may be able to live in harmony, but you will still have a little bit of independence. Do you think that with the blood demon's temperament, it is necessary for him to keep someone like you, whose strength is on par with his, but whose contributions are greater than his?" These words touched the nerves of the giant eagle. He had always been dissatisfied with the status of the blood demon. In terms of strength, he was not much worse than the blood demon, and in terms of credit, he did not lose to him. In order to rescue the master, he swallowed his pride and intended to go his separate ways after rescuing the master. However, Suyu's words alerted him. No one knew better than him what the blood demon was like. He was cold, cruel, inhuman, and extremely possessive. If he really left the blood demons one day, the blood demons would be afraid of his strength and contributions, and the probability of them killing him would be extremely high. The duckbill beast might be safe, but the blood devil would certainly not tolerate him. At this moment, Suyu's enticing voice drifted out of his mouth once again. "Now, an opportunity to settle everything once and for all is right in front of you. Not only will it allow you to become the greatest contributor to rescuing my master, but it will also allow you to get rid of your worries. So, why did you turn a blind eye to such an opportunity? The giant eagle was shocked and shouted, "You want me to betray my brother?" Suyu shook his head. "No, this is called taking preventive measures. If you don't kill him today, he will surely kill you tomorrow. This is self-defense, and it has nothing to do with betrayal." The giant eagle's eyes flickered. He was deeply moved by Suyu's words. Blood Demon was currently heavily injured and was at his weakest. If he could get rid of him, then everything would belong to him. Blood Demon laughed angrily. "You want to use words to sow discord between us brothers? Suyu, oh, Suyu, your methods are too childish." Platypus was filled with righteous indignation. While attacking Wu Xin, he said angrily, "Second brother, what are you hesitating for? Could it be that you have fallen into his trap of sowing discord?" After being roared at by both of them, the giant eagle recovered from his hesitation. The hesitation on his face dissipated and was replaced by firmness and determination. He stared at Suyu and said lightly, "I'm sorry, but I can't do as you wish." His sharp claws suddenly stabbed down. However, at the moment when the claws stabbed down, his body suddenly turned around strangely, and his sharp claws turned to stab the defenseless blood demon. The giant eagle's face was filled with madness and ferocity. He sneered and said, "When you need me, you call me second brother and bind me with your brotherhood. When you don't need me, you call me giant eagle and order me as your boss. Blood demon, do you think I'm an idiot?" "He's right. You and I are definitely incompatible." Swish. The sharp claws pierced through the blood demon's head, and with a twist, the last trace of vitality of the blood demon was erased. He did not die at the hands of outsiders, but at the hands of his own people. The outcome was so unexpected that no one had expected it. Big Brother Blood Demon. The duckbill beast's eyes were red. He roared and pushed Wu Xin away before pouncing on the giant eagle. "You heartless traitor, I'll kill you." The giant eagle's mouth curved into a sneer. "Third brother, are you a match for me?" With a sweep of his claws, he left a deep bloody mark on the duckbill beast's chest. The duckbill beast immediately went invisible, trying to kill the giant eagle with his mutated talent. However, the giant eagle just sneered. His sharp eyes seemed to see through everything, and his sharp claws stabbed 30 feet away from his side. "Ah!" With a miserable howl, the figure of the duckbill beast appeared from his invisibility. Half of his body was pierced by the giant eagle's sharp claws. The duckbill beast said incredulously, "How could you see through my mutated talent? You just mutated your wings and sped up your movement. Who told you that I only mutated my wings? I have a very rare double mutation, and my eyes have also partially mutated. It's more than enough to see through your invisibility talent." The giant eagle sneered and revealed a secret that he had kept hidden for a long time. The duckbill beast looked indignant and said with grief and indignation, "So you've been guarding against us for a long time." The giant eagle had a cruel look in his eyes. "We all know that sooner or later, the 5 of us will disband. Goodbye, third brother." With a shake of his claws, he was about to shatter the duckbill beast's body. However, at this moment, a voice that made his hair stand on end suddenly sounded behind the giant eagle. "Then, I'll also tell you a secret. In fact, I also have a double mutation." The blood demon, whose vitality had been extinguished, suddenly opened his eyes without warning, and a strong vitality burst out from the depths of his body. The giant eagle stiffened and was shocked. "You also," before he could finish his words, the blood demon attacked violently, and his sharp palms pierced the giant eagle's chest. At the same time, the power of Azura erupted from his palms, shattering the giant eagle into countless pieces from the inside out. A rain of blood sprinkled all over the blood demon's body, making his already ferocious face look even more terrifying. Cough, cough. The blood demon coughed heavily twice and stared at the head of the giant eagle with a grim smile. He said sarcastically, "My second mutation ability is the immortal body. As long as my body still exists, I can be resurrected once." With a sneer, he crushed the giant eagle's body with one foot and looked at Suyu with a sneer. "I was right, I can't give you any chance to breathe. You're too dangerous." At this moment, he felt that the danger of Suyu's schemes was even more terrifying than the 4,000 divine paths. With a meticulous mind, He could easily see the giant eagle's dissatisfaction with the blood demon with just one look. Then, with a few words, he stabbed the giant eagle's vital point and successfully instigated the giant eagle's rebellion. This ability was really too terrifying. "Duckbill beast, hold that witch, I'll kill him myself," the blood demon yelled and strode towards Su Yu. Without hesitation, his sharp claws pierced towards Su Yu's chest. However, at this moment, a big mouth clamped down on him without warning. The blood demon was stunned. He looked back and couldn't help but be startled. "Duckbill beast!" The duckbill beast opened its huge mouth and clamped the blood demon tightly, closing it continuously. Under the tremendous pressure, the blood demon's body was squeezed into a crack. The duckbill beast's calm eyes revealed exhaustion and complexity. "I'm sorry, big brother. You betrayed me too." The blood demon couldn't believe that the duckbill beast, who was fighting desperately for him just now, had betrayed him at the last minute. The dark red eyes of the duckbill beast gradually receded, and a touch of clarity flickered. He said, "Big brother, is it really good to release the master? With the nature of the master, he treats the common people like ants and treats us like slaves. Back then, there were 10 of us brothers, and 5 of us died in the hands of the master. It was all because he was in a bad mood. Is it really good to release such a master?" The blood demon was furious. "How dare you question the master? Also, what's wrong with your eyes? Why are they clear and bright? It's not that I'm questioning, but the memories of our 5 brothers were erased." The duckbill beast took out some wizard props, which were the relics of the 5 elders of the Chu clan. "Using their props, I suppressed the power of Azura in my body. Some of the erased memories have been recovered, and I have also regained my own sanity. Big brother, we are all controlled by the master, even our thoughts. It's hard for me to believe that such a master won't obliterate us as soon as he comes out of seclusion to prevent us from rebelling after we wake up," said the duckbill beast. The blood demon was startled. "Then why didn't you say so earlier?" The duckbill beast smiled bitterly. "I'm the only one who is in a sober state and remembers what happened in the past. If I say it out loud, the big brother and the other 3 brothers will be controlled immediately and kill me. So, I've been waiting for an opportunity and endured it." The blood demon's expression eased, and he said, "I see. I trusted the master so much in vain. Duckbill beast, you've done a good job. Leave with the big brother." As he spoke, he tried to pry open the duckbill beast's mouth, meaning to let him down. Unexpectedly, not only did the duckbill beast not let him go, but he suddenly clamped his mouth and crushed his body completely. He said with mixed feelings, "Big brother, you don't have to pretend. Your eyes are still blood red, which means that you're still under the master's control. You will never betray the master. If I let you go, I'll end up like the giant eagle." Having failed in his plan, the blood demon no longer concealed himself and roared ferociously, "Let me go, you traitor. If the master finds out, he will never forgive you." He bombarded the duckbill beast's huge mouth with all his might, but he was also an arrow at the end of its flight and could do nothing. The duckbill beast sighed deeply. "Goodbye, big brother. I should also thank the giant eagle for making you use your hidden mutant talent." Crack! With a muffled sound and a mournful and ferocious scream, the blood demon was clamped to death by the duckbill beast and turned into a rain of blood. Even his soul was crushed. He could not be more dead. A massacre between the brothers came to an end just like that. Even Su Yu did not expect that the quietest duckbill beast was the most ruthless among them. Wu Xin's eyes flashed, and he was about to attack the duckbill beast. If he was alone, he still had some confidence in killing the duckbill beast. Chapter 1426. Wu Xin raised her eyebrows. "In a one-on-one fight, I'm stronger than him." Su Yu said, "That's because he deliberately showed weakness, because he never used his second mutant talent on you." Wu Xin was taken aback. "He also has a second mutant talent." "I'm afraid so. Except for the 4th and 5th brother, all 3 of them have mutant talents, but it's the one that hides the most," Su Yu said lightly. The duckbill beast looked at Su Yu with his clear eyes and said, "The blood demon was right about you. You are terrible, especially when you are my enemy. Even now, I don't dare to attack you, because before you die, No one knows what other terrifying tricks you have up your sleeve. He looked at Su Yu's sleeves with a vigilant look in his eyes. Su Yu smiled gently. Is the second talent the fantasy breaker? It can see through everyone's trump cards. The duckbill beast was shocked and nodded. Yes, I have long seen through the double talents of the giant eagle and the big brother, so I never dared to stop them. Now, it's all over. Wu Xin suddenly understood. If he had the talent to see through others' trump cards, it would be too terrifying. During a fight, the opponent could grasp any state of his body and choose the best time to attack. If he had used the fantasy breaker talent just now, Wu Xin would have been killed by him because of a moment of carelessness. Recalling the two fights, her every move was under the control of the opponent. Wu Xin shuddered. If the opponent wanted to kill her, he might have succeeded twice. What are you going to do? Su Yu asked. The duckbill beast was silent for a while and looked in the direction of the Azura Forbidden Land. Go back. The seal of the first level of heaven is still there, so I can only leave temporarily. If I don't return for a long time, I will die. As he spoke, the duckbill beast absorbed all the relics of the giant eagle, picked out the token, and handed it to Su Yu. The seal of the Azura Forbidden Land cannot be broken. There are creatures mutated by the power of Azura inside. Once they break out, the consequences will be unimaginable. Su Yu looked surprised. You are trapped in the Azura Forbidden Land. If it were me, I would get this token, unlock the seal of the first level of heaven, and gain freedom. Duckbill Beast shook his head and looked around. He said meaningfully, Do you think that the Lost Nation is not a prison? Just as Su Yu was pondering the profound meaning of these words, the duckbill beast said, There are still my people in the Azura Forbidden Lands. I must go back and take care of them. That is the best place for me to return to. Su Yu nodded and silently held the badge in his hand. Please keep this token for yourself. Don't hand it over to the Chu clan that guards the Forbidden Grounds. They have already lost their ancestors' sense of worry. They actually dared to recklessly touch the second heaven's restriction and almost caused a great disaster. Such a family clan has already lost the qualifications to guard the Azura Forbidden Land. As for you, you have personally seen the Master and seen how terrifying the Azura Forbidden Land is. I believe you know what to choose. Sure. Su Yu had no intention of returning the badge. Also, please take care of the control core of the second seal. Don't let it fall into the hands of others. Otherwise, when Master comes out, he will definitely do his best to open the third seal and release the terrifying existence inside. The Azura Forbidden Land was divided into 3 layers. If the second layer sealed that terrifying mysterious monster, then who was sealed in the third layer? Was he the one who was sealed by the wizard ancestor back then? What is sealed in the third layer? Su Yu asked. The duckbill beast shook his head. I don't know. I only know that it is very terrifying. It once inadvertently leaked a trace of its breath, which affected the Great Path rules. 99% of the creatures in the first layer were wiped out. Upon hearing this, Su Yu was shocked. A trace of breath could affect the Great Path rules. What kind of existence was this? Well, I have to go back. Take care of yourselves. Please be sure to stay away from the Azura Forbidden Land and don't set foot here again. The duckbill beast rose into the air. Just as he was about to leave, he thought of something and said, By the way, the dead soulworm was chased by a level 2 deity and has escaped. It should have no time to care about you. You can leave quickly. A level 2 deity? Su Yu was sure he had not heard it wrong. Wasn't that an existence at the same level as the 4 great empires? How could they appear here? After the duckbill beast finished speaking, he immediately left and returned to the Azura Forbidden Land. Su Yu pondered for a while in the same place, then quickly left with Wu Xin's help. Not long after they left, in the river of blood on the ground, the corpse of the yellow-robed old man, which had been caught in 2, squirmed for a while, and a small khaki snake emerged from the corpse. The little snake's whole body radiated yellow light and gradually changed into an old man, who looked exactly like the yellow-robed old man. Fortunately, I managed to escape by shedding my skin at the critical moment. Otherwise, I would have died here today. The yellow-robed old man felt a lingering fear when he thought about it. At that moment, A large black cloud moved in the depths of the sky. The tyrannical breath of dozens of level 3 deities shrouded the area, and countless divine powers intertwined, shocking all the creatures in the surroundings. The yellow-robed old man trembled all over and hurriedly knelt and kowtowed. The demon general welcomes the commander. Hualala, the rolling dark clouds parted, and more than 30 powerful level 3 deities knelt side by side all the way from the dark clouds to the ground, forming a staircase. As everyone knelt to welcome them, the figure of a young man full of defiance slowly walked out of the dark clouds. His appearance was ordinary, and his skin was slightly dark, but his body exuded the defiance of all living beings. It seemed that all injustices could not stop his footsteps. Or rather, everything that stood in his way was wiped out. He was none other than Nitian Hanshing, who led the heaven-defying Empire's army deep in. In front of him, the yellow-robed old man's body was tense, and his breathing was rapid. He looked extremely nervous. Suyu left. Nitian Hanshing glanced at the corpses all over the ground and said indifferently. The yellow-robed old man then explained the ins and outs of the matter one by one. It was intricate and complicated, and the situation had changed drastically several times. It was fascinating to the ears of others, and it made them speechless. But when it fell into the ears of Nitian Hanshing, he was not surprised. Why didn't you report when Suyu appeared? Why did you only think of me, the commander, when you chased him all the way here? Nitian Hanshing had a smile on his face. But that smile made the yellow-robed old man tremble all over, and his face was extremely pale. Did you think that by catching Suyu, you would receive an amazing reward, and you would no longer have to obey me, the commander? Nitian Hanshing asked again, and his smile deepened. The yellow-robed old man hurriedly explained, it was my lack of consideration. I only wanted to intercept and kill the escaped criminal, and hand him over to the commander. I had no intention of taking the reward for myself. Ha ha! Nitian Hanshing laughed out loud, and threw out a poisoned dagger from his sleeve. Those who deceive me, die. For the sake of you conquering many tribes, I'll give you a quick death. Don't make me do it myself. After saying that, Nitian Hanshing walked back to the dark clouds. The group of level 3 deities followed him back into the dark clouds. No one looked at the yellow-robed old man, and many of them were his old friend. It was not that they did not want to, but they did not dare to. The yellow-robed old man's face was pale, and he held the dagger in his hand, his eyes full of remorse. The poison on this dagger was specially used to poison souls. Not long ago, he had personally supervised a deputy commander who was at a disadvantage in battle and committed suicide with this dagger. He did not expect that not long after, it would be his turn. He raised the dagger and stabbed it into his chest without thinking. He did not dare to resist, because the consequences of resistance were even more terrible. Those who went against Nitian Hanshing's will had never had a good ending, not a single one. The poison entered his body, and the yellow-robed old man died immediately, without any pain. On the dark clouds, Nitian Hanshing glanced at the silent crowd and said lightly, everyone, take this as a warning. Yes. The deputy commanders did not even dare to breathe. Nitian Hanshing did not take it seriously at all when he sentenced a meritorious minister to death. He said, since our whereabouts have been discovered, let's act immediately. Yes. Fan capital, in the underground courtyard. Shuiying looked anxious. His injuries are so serious. Wu Xin said, don't worry, his injuries are not serious, and he will recover in half a day. Shuiying looked at her with a complicated expression. This trip is all thanks to you. Without you, he may not have returned safely. Hearing that, Wu Xin smiled bitterly. To be precise, even without me, he could have escaped unscathed. His various methods, his various schemes, all made Wu Xin slap the table in praise. As the duckbill beast said, before Suyu was completely dead, no one knew what other terrible tricks he had up his sleeves. Follow me back to the Saint Lady Temple. I believe the mistress has forgiven you, Shuiying said. Wu Xin shook her head, and there was a touch of relief in her eyes. The wizard tribe is no longer a place for me. I want to go to the god realm to have a look. Knowing that she had made up her mind, Shuiying no longer tried to persuade her. He said, wait for Suyu to come out of isolation, and we'll talk about it after we meet. Wu Xin looked at Shuiying and said with a faint smile, "I'll leave more opportunities for the two of you. I hope you get what you want." Shuiying's handsome face blushed. "You misunderstood, I didn't. Hehe, you better take care of yourself. An outstanding man like Su Yu is hard to come by. If you can obtain his heart, it would be a great blessing for you." Wu Xin calmly smiled, then walked away. Shuiying bit his lip, and the blush on his face deepened. Inside the secret chamber, Su Yu took out the giant eagle's belongings. It was the giant eagle who killed Chu Long, so all of Chu Long's belongings were in the giant eagle's belongings. After a thorough inspection, he found Chu Long's space ring. With some anticipation, Su Yu scanned it with his soul and was immediately overjoyed. The 10,000 soul stone for crafting the Cosmos sword formation, all the materials needed to craft the world annihilation plate were here. The materials needed to craft many weapons of the ancient civilization were dazzling. Although Chu Long did not think that he would lose, with Ling Wu present, he had no choice but to put on an act to get the good materials. Su Yu was completely at ease. He finally had no worries. "I'll craft it patiently when I return to the forbidden land of the epoch-making dragon," Su Yu secretly planned. Then, Su Yu took out the crystal ball and the token. Both of them were the key to unlocking the seal of the Azura Forbidden Lands. He couldn't afford to lose them. Su Yu put them all into the 9-jade spiritual pearl for safekeeping. Looking at the power of Azura gradually dissipating in his body, Su Yu breathed a sigh of relief and allowed his body to recover on its own. In his mind, he was practicing the second style of the heaven-fighting 3 strokes, the ultimate style. Chapter 1427. The so-called boundless fighting will was only manifested when one was on the brink of life and death. The boundless fighting will could not be manifested until the moment of life and death. Do I need a more dangerous life and death experience? Su Yu took a light breath. He had almost died in the battle with the blood demon, but that was not enough to stimulate the boundless fighting will. Wanting to cultivate the second style, the danger was not just any ordinary high. But where can I find such a dangerous experience? Su Yu pondered. Did he have to go to the Azura Forbidden Lands again to fight against the mysterious monster sealed in the second level of heaven? Su Yu shook his head slightly. The monster was unimaginably powerful. Now was not the time for Su Yu to provoke it. As Su Yu was pondering, Shuiying's slightly nervous voice came from outside the door. "Brother Su, an invitation has arrived." Su Yu stopped training and opened the stone door. "It's from the Chu clan, isn't it?" "How did you know?" Shuiying asked in surprise, holding a red invitation. The words Chu clan were written on the invitation. "This is, after all, the Chu clan's territory, and no matter how well we hide, we can't hide forever. Moreover, I've already appeared twice, so it won't be difficult for them to track our hiding place." Su Yu took the invitation, then said calmly, "I'm afraid that they aren't willing to give up." They had already heard about the death of Chu Bawang and Chu Long. Such a large family would not lack treasures like the life card. "Brother Su, let's go quickly. I don't think this invitation is friendly," Shuiying said. Su Yu looked around the house and said, "Do you think that, with the way the Chu clan does things, they will give us a choice?" Shuiying was startled. He calmed his heart and sensed it. Sure enough, he found some hidden weak sorcery energy. "Are we surrounded?" Shuiying raised his eyebrows. Kaelin thought for a moment. "If we rush out now, we'll be exposed. Maybe the Chu clan will blame us for the deaths of the clan master and the heir, who asked us to abscond to avoid punishment." The two girls looked at each other and realized that they had to go whether they wanted to or not. "Haha, let's go. It's good to visit the Chu clan. Apart from explaining the deaths of Chu Long and Chu Bawang, there's something else I need to remind them about." Su Yu had not forgotten about the encounter with the soldiers from the God Realm in the underground cave. That place was less than 3 days away from Fan capital. It was not a good sign for enemies from the deity realm to get close to the city. With the invitation in hand, Su Yu and the two women arrived at the Chu clan. It was still the same extravagant mansion as before, but the difference was that the mansion was gloomy and suffused with a tense atmosphere. With the death of the clan leader and clan leader's successor at the same time, The Chu clan was like a group of dragons without a leader. All the clan elders coveted the position of clan leader, and the tension between them grew. How could they not be nervous? They were quickly received into the reception hall. 2 extremely old and extremely powerful clan elders were waiting for them with 10 elders of the 3rd heavenly layer in the clan. As soon as Suyu stepped in, he felt a strong sense of pressure and hostility. Shueying was secretly vigilant, and Kaelin was also tensed up, ready to resist at any time. However, Suyu looked calm. He randomly chose a place to sit down and said, "I came here with an invitation, not to be judge." Of the 2 clan elders, one was completely blind, and the other had no left arm. At their level of cultivation, they were unable to restore their bodies. It was obvious that the injuries they had suffered in the past were extremely serious. They must have been people who had experienced great danger. The blind elder said indifferently, "I invited you here today to inquire about the whereabouts of the Chu clan leader and clan leader's successor. If I have neglected you, please forgive me." His words were polite, but there was not the slightest hint of apology on his face. The one-armed elder stared at Suyu and said, "I believe you can understand how we feel. Now, it is the 2 of us who are suppressing the anger of our people. If you know anything, tell us as soon as possible." Upon hearing that, Suyu smiled lightly. Anger? Whose anger was it directed at? "Is it me?" The blind elder and the one-armed elder said in unison, "What do you think?" From their tone, it was not difficult to hear their resentment. He. Suyu chuckled. "So, you blame the deaths of the clan leader and clan leader on me. Do you think that I killed them?" Seeing that Suyu was not remorseful at all and was speaking in such a tone, the older clan elders could still keep their composure. However, the younger one could not help but rebuke him angrily. "If you didn't kill them, who else could it be? Everyone died, but only you came back. How dare you say that all of this has nothing to do with you?" Suyu looked at the young man who had spoken calmly. "Yes, it has nothing to do with me. If I dare to say that, what can you do about it?" The fact that the young man could appear in front of so many clan elders meant that he had an extraordinary status. Upon being provoked by Suyu, he flew into a rage. "How dare you? You killed the clan leader and clan leader of the Chu clan, and you still dare to be so arrogant." Swoosh. Before he could finish his harsh words, Suyu shot him a cold look. "What are you going to do? Are you going to fight me one-on-one, or a group fight with me?" The young man who had flown into a rage was suddenly speechless. Suyu's strength was obvious. How could he be a match for him one-on-one? If it was a group fight, even the clan elders had not spoken. Who was he to make such a decision? "Since you can't decide anything, then shut up. This is a place for me and your clan elders. You have no right to speak." Suyu was young, but his status was on an equal footing with the many elders of the Chu clan. It was really unconvincing. But so what if he was unconvinced? He had the right to speak. The young man was arrogant and was about to retort when the blind elder stopped him. "Chu Wen, you have no right to speak here." It was not the time to shed all pretense of cordiality. Naturally, Chu Wen would not be allowed to continue provoking the atmosphere. Chu Wen shut his mouth and stared at Suyu with hatred. Only then did the blind elder speak. "Then tell us, how did the clan leader and clan leader of the Chu clan die? Why are you the only one who came back? If you can't give us a clear explanation, the Chu clan's anger will no longer be suppressed." Hearing the threat in his words, Suyu laughed coldly. "Your anger? Ha ha ha, this Su's fury still has nowhere to vent. It would have been fine if he had not said it." As soon as he said it, everyone was furious. It was their clan leader and clan leader who died. No matter how angry they were, it was not Suyu's turn to be angry. Who do you think sent people to secretly change the restrictions of the Azura Forbidden Lands, to lure out the 3 mutated ferocious beasts, and Chu Bawang was captured alive and sacrificed? Who do you think sent the 3 clan elders to ambush and kill Ling Wu? Who do you think used the token to change the restrictions of the first level of the Azura Forbidden Lands and released the 3 mutated ferocious beasts? Who do you think caused me to be chased by 3 ferocious beasts from the Azura Forbidden Lands to the outside world? At first, everyone looked disdainful, staring at Su Yu's self-justifying story as if they were watching a good show. But when they suddenly heard that Chu Bawang was sacrificed, they were shocked. But the two elders were even more shocked by the big secret that Su Yu had revealed. The clan leader had changed the seal of the Forbidden Lands without authorization. This was a disaster that could lead to the extinction of the entire clan. If this matter horrified them, then the next thing made them gasp. The clan leader had sent 3 elders to kill the sect leaders Ling Wu. This was considered a rebellion. These 2 things were enough to plunge the Chu clan into an abyss of eternal damnation. The anger of the people present instantly turned into cold sweat, and they were terrified. Don't slander the Chu clan without evidence. The blind elder and the one-armed elder shouted in unison, their imposing manner pressing down like a mountain. Su Yu sneered and waved his hand in the air. An image of the convergence of divine power appeared in front of them. It was the scene of Chu Long and the 3 elders attacking Ling Wu and killing him. The entire hall was silent as they stared at the scene without blinking. Cold sweat covered their foreheads. After a long time, there was the sound of someone swallowing hard. The blind elder and the one-armed elder's momentum weakened, and they said, This was the decision of the clan leader and the 3 elders. We didn't know anything about it. Su Yu glanced at the crowd coldly, and then showed the scene of Chu Long being killed by the giant eagle, as well as the scene of Chu Bawang being sacrificed. After reading it, the aggressive Chu clan immediately became silent. Indeed, as Su Yu said, their deaths had nothing to do with Su Yu. Do you have anything else to say? Su Yu said coldly. The elders were silent. Although the younger generation was unwilling, there was nothing they could do. Chu Wen, on the other hand, harbored resentment in his heart. Seeing that everyone was silent, he argued, a bunch of nonsense. It's true that the 3 ferocious beasts appeared, but what evidence do you have to prove that we did it? Su Yu glanced at him and asked, I would like to ask, for hundreds of millions of years, there has never been a situation where the ferocious beasts went out. Why was there a mistake in this competition? Also, do you want me to show you the images of the 5 elders who died in the Azura Forbidden Lands? They had nothing to do with the competition, but they ran into the Forbidden Lands in advance. Do you think you can justify this? The muscles on Chu Wen's cheeks squirmed, and he tried to argue, but he was stopped by the one-armed elder, who said, The death of the clan leader and the young master is not your fault, but... The one-armed elder's eyes were cold. You took the resources of the Chu clan, shouldn't you hand them over? Hearing this, the blind elder's face gradually became stern, and the people in the hall also showed a shrewd look. Su Yu sneered. This was the real purpose of the invitation. Chu Long and Chu Bawang were dead. As for how they died, it didn't matter. What mattered was that the amazing resources that Chu Long carried with him had fallen into Su Yu's hand. That 1/10 of the resources were the foundation of the Chu clan, and there was absolutely no reason for it to fall into the hands of outsiders. Chu Wen said, Yes. Hand over the resources. Su Yu looked at the crowd and said, First, are the resources in my hands? Second, even if they are in my hands, I won the competition, and they are what I deserve. Don't tell me that your clan leader's words in front of the Moonwatch sect master can't represent the Chu clan? Chu Wen sneered. He already had a plan in mind. Clan leader Chu's promise is certainly true, but he is already the previous clan leader, and he can no longer represent the Chu clan. Now, the Chu clan is asking for the resources back, and it is only natural. As for whether the resources are in your hands, humph, that's easy, just let us search you. Chapter 1428. Shueying said, I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen anyone as shameless as you. How dare you ask for the promised bet back just because of the death of the clan master? Kaylin also said scornfully, the Chu clan's style of doing things is really clear. Are they all the same, young and old? Chu Wen frowned when he heard that. He waved his hand and whipped sorcery power at Kaylin and Shueying, I'm talking to Su Li. Who do you think you are? How dare you interrupt and mock my Chu clan? Bang! However, just as the sorcery energy was about to strike, Su Yu's figure suddenly flashed like thunder and struck out, forcibly dispersing the sorcery energy. At the same time, a touch of divine energy came out of his body and hit Chu Wen. Poof! With a muffled sound, Chu Wen's body was badly mutilated, especially his mouth. The elders on both sides were furious. They immediately caught Chu Wen and treated his wounds. They said angrily, "How dare you hurt the people of the Chu clan?" Su Yu said coldly, "You should thank me for showing mercy. I can forgive him for offending me several times, but he is courting death if he dares to offend the people around me." Su Yu said indifferently, "If you want to give it a try, I don't mind challenging all of you." His arrogant words aroused the anger of the elders. A powerful level 3 aura surged forth like a torrent. Su Yu was not afraid. He rolled up his sleeves and protected Shuiying and Kaelin behind him. He laughed and said, "All right. I didn't have a good time killing in the Forbidden Land. Since you guys are courting death, I won't hold back." Boom. 4,000 divine paths were unleashed, and the 9-colored light condensed into countless beams of light, scattering in all directions. Boom. In an instant, the huge palace was shattered by the impact of the divine light. The protective seals inside the palace were like paper in the face of the divine light, instantly breaking apart. The first to bear the brunt of the attack were the 4 elders who were at the forefront. They were caught off guard and were severely injured by the terrible divine path. Their bodies were shattered, and only their souls escaped. The rest of the elders were also injured by the divine light and hurriedly retreated in shock. The only ones who were unscathed were the blind clan elder and the one-armed clan elder. However, they were also extremely shocked. Compared to Su Yu's performance at the Saint Lady's son-in-law selection, 3,000 divine paths had become 4,000. That power had increased by several levels. Even Chu Long, the lord of the Holy Saint Temple, and Ling Wu, the 3 peerless experts, were wary of the 3,000 divine paths, let alone 4,000 divine path. The 4 elders, who only had their souls left, were so frightened that they hid underground, not daring to appear in front of Su Yu again. With merely a single exchange of blows, he had destroyed the Chu clan's main hall, killed 4 Chu clan's elders, and injured 7 to 8 others. The entire place was a mess. They had never expected such an outcome. Glancing at the 4 souls that had fled into the ground, Su Yu said coldly, "Trying to escape?" A streak of divine light appeared in his hand and transformed into a long spear. It pierced through the ground toward the soul hidden deep underground. The expressions of the blind elder and the single-armed elder changed drastically. They hurriedly yelled, "Stop!" Both of their faces were filled with deep anger. The single-armed elder bellowed, "How could you be so vicious as to attack them like this?" Su Yu sneered. "You besieged me first, and now I can't even retaliate. What godly logic?" The blind clan elder sighed. "Mr. Su, we wanted to reason with you, but since you have attacked us, I have no choice but to resort to this." Dong. With a deafening sound, a giant drum was carried out from the depths of the Chu clan's mansion. The drum's skin was golden, and it contained unparalleled power. Shuiying's pupils shrank slightly. This is the Chu clan's divine artifact, the demon-subduing drum. It was personally passed down by the wizard ancestor to kill the ferocious beasts that escaped from the Azura Forbidden Lands. Its power is comparable to a blow from a level 2 strong man. Hearing that, Su Yu only smiled faintly. "You did reason with me. There is no limit to your shamelessness. The demon-subduing drum? Haha, you have to be able to activate it first." Swish. A pitch-black token appeared in Su Yu's palm. The token resonated with the demon-subduing drum from afar. The demon-subduing drum sensed the appearance of the token. The golden drum's skin vibrated cheerfully, releasing a layer of golden light that enveloped Su Yu and the token in his hand. "Master!" The blind clan elder and the single-armed elder's faces changed drastically. Shuiying was pleasantly surprised. He could not help but burst into laughter. So the master's token is in Brother Su's hands. The demon-subduing drum only recognizes the token and not the owner. Whoever has the token will be the master of the clan. This demon-subduing drum has been refined by the wizard ancestor. It will never attack anyone from the Chu clan, let alone the master. Shuiying was overjoyed that the demon-subduing drum was no longer a threat. His eyes gleamed coldly. "Let's reason with each other now. Let's see who has the bigger fist." He was about to strike when Su Yu stopped him. "Don't be fooled, They still have something up their sleeves. The blind clan elder and the single-armed elder each took out half of a jade pendant. When the two pieces were combined into one, the aura of the wizard ancestor burst forth from the jade pendant. A deep sense of threat descended upon the surroundings. This is a treasure left behind by the wizard ancestor to guard our bloodline. If you have the ability to resist it, try it. I'll definitely turn you into ashes, the blind clan elder bellowed. Suyu glanced at him indifferently and went straight to the point. If this item was really that powerful, you would have taken it out a long time ago. The attack range of this item is very limited, isn't it? Am I right? The blind clan elder raised his eyebrows slightly, revealing a hint of panic in his heart. I've guessed it right, Suyu said calmly. The blind clan elder and the single-armed elder's faces changed, becoming extremely ugly. They bellowed, everyone, disperse now. Do not return until the clan is safe. The jade pendant could only protect the lives of the two of them, but it could not protect everyone else. The clansmen mourned. The Chu clan had been forced into such dire straits that they had to flee for their lives. However, just as they had a premonition that something bad was about to happen and were feeling remorseful, Suyu, who was like a god of slaughter, withdrew his divine light expressionlessly and said indifferently, "There must be something hateful about a pitiful person. What's hateful about you is that you can't change your nature. Now that the patriarch and young patriarch have fallen, what you should do is to sum up the failures of the previous patriarch and learn from them, not to think of ways to obtain wealth. Looks like Chu Long's death didn't teach you enough of a lesson. I think you'll only understand this when you pay with your own blood." Why did Chu Long die? In order to protect the resources, he did not hesitate to change the restriction, but in the end, he was killed by 3 ferocious beasts. He deserved it. On the other hand, the Chu clan that lost Chu Long did not learn their lesson at all. Not only did they not reflect, they even became even more determined to take back their resources. Disappointment flashed across his face, and Suyu sighed. The duckbill beast is right. The Guardian family is no longer worthy of its name, and has fallen to the level of an ordinary family. Shaking his head, Suyu turned around and walked out of the city. He had no intention of starting a massacre. Shuiying was a little unwilling. Are we going to let them go just like that? They're bent on killing us. I only attacked to teach them a lesson. Do I really have to start a massacre? Suyu said indifferently, the situation is too chaotic now, and the enemies of the God realm can invade at any time. If we kill them all, who will protect the innocent people of Fan Capital? Shuiying's eyes lit up, and the reflection of Suyu in her eyes became even more heroic. If Suyu started a massacre, it would certainly be satisfying, but was a man who killed like a madman really worthy of a woman's love? Soaring into the air, Suyu looked back at them and said indifferently, besides, you'd better strengthen your defenses. I found traces of the enemies of the God realm in the Blackwood Forest. I believe the war is not far away. Having said that, Suyu took the 2 women and flew away. The Chu clan was silent for a long time, feeling humiliated. Damn it. Relying on his tyrannical strength, he wantonly injured the elders of the Chu clan and destroyed our mansion. Yes. He has gone too far. Elders, please write a letter to the sect master immediately and ask him to make a decision. Forgiveness without killing was not exchanged for gratitude, but even deeper hatred. The blind elder and the one-armed elder were full of hatred. They snorted and kept their jade pendants. Clean up the ruins. This matter must be kept secret. Whoever leaks the news and ruins the reputation of the Chu clan will be severely punished. The one-armed elder yelled. After giving the order, he said to the blind elder, whether the news that the brat told us before he left is true or not, I think we should take it seriously. The blind elder nodded. Yes, we have lost contact with many tribes. If I am not mistaken, most of them have been destroyed by the God Realm Great Army. The one-armed elder's eyes turned. Old Luo, your eyes are not good. Why don't you give me half of your command? That way, we can integrate the troops to the greatest extent. Hearing that, the blind elder sneered. Although I am blind, my hands are not broken. Why don't you give me your command? I was the one who led the troops to war in the past, and I am better at this than you. Humph, won't you be the only one in the clan then? the one-armed elder said. The blind elder asked, if you get all the command, won't you be the only one in power? The one-armed elder was annoyed. Fine, if you don't trust me, then so be it. We will each lead the troops, and no one will hinder the other. That's for the best. Humph. The blind elder flicked his sleeves and left. The two parted on bad terms at the critical juncture. 2 days later, in the Blackwood Forest, at the Chu Clan station, Suyu arrived on the Wizard Phoenix with the two ladies to return the beast. As always, this was a safe base for the wizards. It was bustling with activity and people came and went. When Suyu passed by an alley, he could not help but stop. He recalled the day he saw the saint handing a scroll to a black-robed man from the god realm. He had always kept that in mind and guessed what the scroll was. Was the saint still using the people of the god realm to cultivate the so-called forbidden technique? With doubts in mind, Suyu came to the place where the wizard Phoenix was staying. It was a garden rich in sorcery energy, very suitable for the wizard Phoenix to rest. Hey, where are the soldiers stationed? Shuiying looked around. Loaning out the wizard Phoenix was an important source of income for the garrison. There were trusted aides of the garrison at all times. Why was there no sign of them now? Kaylin narrowed her snowy eyes and stared at the garden. Slowly, she said, not only the soldiers stationed here, but even the remaining wizard phoenixes are gone. It's impossible to rent out all of these military flying ferocious beasts. There should be at least 10 of them left. Upon hearing that, Shuiying also realized that something was wrong. Yes, there were more than 30 of them left the last time we came. How could they all be loaned out in just half a month? All of a sudden, a faint smell of blood drifted into the noses of the two ladies. Their faces changed slightly, but Suyu had already urged the wizard Phoenix to fly up again. He sighed. The worst thing we expected has finally happened. Leave this place quickly, something big is going to happen. Chapter 1429. Although they were confused, they still listened to Suyu and prepared to jump onto the wizard Phoenix and use the flying magical beasts to leave. However, Suyu stopped them and said, "Wait." As he spoke, he summoned a clone and jumped onto the wizard Phoenix. Under the control of the clone, the wizard Phoenix quickly took off, and in the blink of an eye, it disappeared into the sky. However, soon after, when they were out of sight, Suyu felt a slight pain between his eyebrows, and his face darkened. The clone has been destroyed, and the wizard Phoenix has been killed. The two women understood Suyu's intention and were shocked. Is there a strong enemy stopping us from leaving? Suyu took a deep look at the garden, smelling the faint smell of blood, and shook his head. To be precise, it is to prevent any creatures from leaving the station. This place has become a dangerous place that can only be entered but not exited. The two women were stunned and shocked. Who did it? Who dares to attack the station of Fan Capital? This is openly making an enemy of the wizard tribe. Suyu said, "Isn't there one openly making an enemy of the wizard tribe in front of us?" Shuiying was horrified and exclaimed, "Impossible. How could the advance of the enemy from the god realm be so fast? Outside Fan Capital, there are tens of thousands of tribes surrounding it. It is impossible for them to bypass the tribes and directly attack Fan Capital." Suyu's expression was still solemn as he said, "There is nothing impossible in this world. I have seen Nitian Hanxing use his troops. They are mysterious and unpredictable. If he personally leads the army, it would not be surprising for them to attack Fan Capital." He thought of the weapon from the god realm in the cave and was even more convinced that Nitian Hanxing had arrived outside Fan Capital. But why did they disperse their forces to besiege the station? Kaylin thought. Suyu's eyes flashed. Isn't it simple? Where is Fan Capital? The vast and boundless Blackwood Forest was isolated in the middle, and there was no help in all directions. The only way to ask for help was to go through these garrisons and ask for help from the nearest Xingjing. Destroying the station will cut off Fan Capital's call for help and destroy them in despair. Hearing this, the two women's expressions became extremely ugly. Clap clap. At this moment, in a dark alley, a figure in a black robe stepped out. His aura was also integrated into the darkness. He clapped his hands and could not hide his admiration. "Suyu is indeed worthy. I thought you would panic and use the wizard phoenix to leave, and then be ambushed and killed. You didn't. To be honest, I am not disappointed. Because this is the person who defeated me. Shuiying and Kaylin suddenly looked at him, and their expressions changed slightly. Shuiying's eyes were even more serious as she said, "Saint." As for Su Yu, he didn't look surprised at all, and he said calmly, "So, you're still here." The black-robed man took off his hat and revealed the true face of the Son of God. He smiled faintly and said, "To be precise, I just came back not long ago." "Well, I probably returned to the station when you returned to Fan Capital." Su Yu squinted his eyes. "So, when I found you that day, you also noticed me, and you have been following me all this time? You said, Su Yu, I, you, and you, I, of you, I, and I, you, you, and you, of you, I, of you, and I, of. Su Yu said calmly, "Then you should have seen me at my weakest, but you did not take the opportunity to attack me. I have underestimated you." The Holy Sun chuckled. "That's because I also think that Duckbill Beast's words are not wrong. Before you're completely dead, no one knows if you still have more terrifying tricks up your sleeve. I don't want to follow in the footsteps of those 3 fierce beasts." Walking out of the alley, Zhao Tianyin talked to them with interest. "You didn't show up just to catch up with me, did you?" Su Yu said. Zhao Tianyin shook his head. "Between you and me, there is only hatred, no old friendship. I showed up because I want someone who can work together to break out of the siege. Although I hate to admit it, you are the most suitable candidate." He continued, "The same goes for you. In this base, the best partner you can find is me." It was now certain that the station was surrounded, and the number and strength of the strong men were unknown. Breaking out of the siege was a must, but the only thing to consider was who to break out of the siege with. Now, it seemed that Zhao Tianyin was indeed the most suitable candidate. There was no need to doubt the strength of his strength. They were enemies, but in the face of a common danger, they could only fight together. "How much do you know about them?" Su Yu went straight to the point. Zhao Tianyin smiled and said, "Since we are working together, of course I will not be stingy with information. First of all, they have spies in the station, such as the guard stationed in the Wizard Phoenix Garden. The remaining 30-odd Wizard Phoenixes were all poisoned to death by him alone. He fled the station half a day ago. Secondly, thousands of miles away, they set up many large magical weapons that I have never seen before. They are extremely powerful. I saw with my own eyes a level 4 wizard who was blasted into dust by a giant cannon without the slightest resistance. His body and soul were destroyed. With the power of that giant cannon, if I were in his shoes, I believe the outcome would not be much different." At this point, Zhao Tianyin's face became much more solemn. Su Yu, on the other hand, had a thoughtful look on his face. Large magical weapons that he had never seen before? Cannons? Finally, I found out that they have experts guarding in all 8 directions, and there is a level 3 deity in each direction. That's not scary. What's scary is that they have an army under them, and there are 3 cannons in the army that I mentioned. If we were to break out of the encirclement and get locked on, the cannons would be able to kill us instantly. Su Yu rubbed his chin. "You mean to say that we should either sneak in quietly or force our way through with the force of a thunderbolt and not give them the chance to use the giant cannons?" "Exactly," Zhao Tianyin said. "However, it's not that easy to sneak in. I have been discovered several times when I tried to investigate the situation. No matter how well I hide, it's of no use. I believe there is a large sensing formation there. Whoever tries to sneak in will be discovered immediately. Force their way through?" Su Yu was deep in thought. He stared at Zhao Tianyin and said, "Since you want to join forces with me, do you already have a plan?" Zhao Tianyin smiled confidently. "Of course. My plan is to create a diversion. The Northwest and the North are 1,000,000 miles apart. The 2 groups of people can support each other at any time. If we attack the Northwest with our powerful sorcery, what will the people in the North do?" Zhao Tianyin asked. Su Yu pondered. "I guess they will bide their time." Zhao Tianyin looked at him approvingly. "Exactly. They will bide their time. Every group of people will perform their duties. They will not let their guard down just because there are problems in the other directions. Shuiying tilted his head. If that's the case, what's the point of creating a diversion? Zhao Tianyin looked at him strangely. There was a hint of familiarity in his eyes. However, the thought flashed past his mind. He said, what if the west is also attacked? The southwest, southeast, east, northeast, all 8 directions will be attacked at the same time. Do you think the people in the south will be able to hold back? Shuiying's eyes gradually brightened. Are you trying to create the illusion that the blockade has been broken to confuse the guards in the south? Zhao Tianyin smiled without saying a word. Kaelin said, this is a brilliant plan. It can be said to create a diversion in 7 directions and attack in 1 direction. The problem is, how can we make all 7 directions suffer a strong attack at the same time? How can we make the people in the south think that the other 7 directions have fallen? After all, the distance between them is not far, and they can all communicate with each other through the communication jade pendant. Zhao Tianyin said, have you forgotten that I am proficient in the highest sorcery of the wizard tribe, the sky-flipping style? Using the law of time, I can temporarily freeze time in 7 directions, creating the illusion that all 7 directions have been destroyed by terrible strong men in an instant, and no information can be transmitted. In this way, the best-case scenario for the guards in the south will be a retreat, and the worst-case scenario will be chaos. Our chances of breaking through will be greatly improved. After thinking about it carefully, the plan was indeed feasible. If everything was carried out according to the plan, the success rate was as high as 90%. Let's not waste time. Let's act now before they besiege us, Su Yu said. Zhao Tianyin's eyes lit up. All right. As long as we cooperate well, I believe it will not be a problem to force our way out. The 4 of them immediately discussed the specific plan. When they were done, they circled around the hidden corner of the outpost and left quietly. The people in the outpost did not notice them at all. The guard in the south, Guo Cheng, was one of the valiant generals under Nitian Hanxing. Not only was his strength outstanding, but he had also been praised by Nitian Hanxing many times for his military tactics. The south was the direction of escape to the Saint Capital, and it was of utmost importance. Therefore, Guo Cheng was assigned to guard it. On this day, Guo Cheng received news from the southwest that a wizard phoenix had been shot down as it was preparing to escape the outpost. The soldiers who went to search for it only found the corpse of the wizard phoenix, but no remains of the living creature it was carrying. Upon receiving the news, Guo Cheng's eyes shone with a profound light as he looked in the direction of the outpost. At that moment, a communication jade pendant on the table in front of him rang urgently. Guo Cheng opened the jade pendant, and an anxious voice came immediately. There are strong men trying to break through the outpost. 2 level 3 wizards, 1 strong man of the god realm, and 1 is Su Yu. It is Su Yu, wanted by the 4 great empires. Guo Cheng was shocked and immediately sent a message back. Su Yu. Are you sure it is him? However, the other side suddenly fell into dead silence, and there was no reply. Guo Cheng's face turned solemn. Could it be? At that moment, something unexpected happened. The other 6 positions were attacked one after another. Those positions were only sent an emergency message, and contact was immediately cut off, as if they had suffered a destructive blow. After catching up with the 7 jade pendants, there was dead silence. The 2 men behind Guo Cheng stopped, their foreheads dripping with cold sweat, and their faces were extremely pale. It was acceptable to lose contact with the guards in 1 position, but to lose contact with the guards in all 7 positions. Could it be an extremely terrifying and powerful enemy, such as the Moonwatch sect master personally attacking and eliminating them almost at the same time? Even the experienced Guo Cheng was shocked at the moment. The soldiers nearby were even more terrified, and their hearts were beating violently. They were the only position that had not been attacked, but according to the order of the 8 positions, they would be next. Right at that moment, 4 figures shrouded in sorcery energy and divine light broke through the air at an extremely fast speed. The great pressure produced by the 4 of them was like the last straw that broke the camel's back, completely crushing the panicked soldiers. Chapter 1430. Even Guo Cheng, who had been in the army for many years, could not help but feel nervous at this moment. The army was defeated like a landslide. At this moment, the morale of the army was in chaos. They had already lost 3 points before facing the enemy head-on. He hesitated. Should he lead the army to retreat and preserve their strength so that they would not be destroyed, or should he persist and fight to the death here? Just as he was hesitating, one of his soldiers suddenly walked up to Guo Cheng. His eyes were filled with an inexplicable dark grey mist. His eyes were empty and lifeless. Guo Cheng's eyes narrowed. Sorcery, possession technique? As he spoke, he was about to kill the soldier who was possessed by sorcery. The soldier suddenly spoke. The voice was that of the saint. "General Guo, please wait. I am here to give you a big gift," the saint said. Guo Cheng stopped his attack but was extremely cautious. He shouted coldly, "Who are you? When did you possess my subordinate?" "Before he left my sight, it should have been 2 days ago, right? Did you possess him at that time?" The saint said, "It doesn't matter who I am, and it doesn't matter when I possessed him. The important thing is that I have brought you Suyu, a great gift. If you capture or kill him alive, how generous will the reward be?" Hearing this, Guo Cheng's eyes flashed with wisdom. "What do you mean?" "What I mean is very simple. The chaos you see now is a trap set by us. The guards in the 7 directions were not destroyed at all, but we used special means to prevent the transmission. They are all fine, and there is no absolute master." Guo Cheng's eyes shone, and he believed most of it. Combined with the previous transmission from the southwest, the downed wizard phoenix was only found with the corpse of the wizard phoenix, but the person who rode it could not be found. It was obvious that it was a test. If he really had the ability to destroy them easily, why would there be a need for a test? Wouldn't it be better to just barge in? Suyu and his 2 companions, as well as a puppet that I am controlling in secret, are coming for you. Whether or not you can grasp this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity is up to you. The grayish color in the soldier's eyes gradually receded, and the effects of the possession gradually faded. But before it ended, the saint said one last time, "Let me remind you, the current Suyu is not who he used to be. You may not be a match for him alone." After that, the possession was completely lifted. At the same time, on the table, the messages from the 7 garrisons arrived belatedly. They all said that the enemy retreated after 1 attack, and that the people in the south must not be fooled. Guo Cheng's heart calmed down as he stared fixedly at the 4 figures approaching from the horizon. Among them, the silver-haired youth was the focus of Guo Cheng's attention. This person was a wanted criminal of the 4 great empires. If he was captured alive, the reward would be incomparably generous. His eyes became heated, and he wanted to take Suyu for himself. However, he would never forget Laro Huang's fate a few days ago. He had committed suicide because he had failed to take Suyu for himself. If I failed to kill him by myself, the commander will surely think that I failed to take everything for myself. But, if Suyu still managed to escape by joining hands with the rest of us, then it means that Suyu is too powerful, and the commander can't blame us for that. His many years of military experience told Guo Cheng that although the opportunity before him was great, it was best not to swallow it all for himself. Otherwise, the consequences would be dire. With a thought, he immediately contacted the nearest southwest and southeast armies. "I have discovered the tracks of the wanted criminal, Suyu. He is breaking out of the encirclement towards my south. All of you, hurry over. I will try my best to stop him and wait for your assistance." On the other side of the jade pendant was the wanted criminal, Suyu. The 2 guarding generals were envious. That was a great reward for a meteoric rise. "But we have duties to fulfill. What if we help you and someone escapes from here?" The general of the Southwest Army said hesitantly. "General Guo, Laro Huang's fate is right in front of us. We dare not repeat the same mistake." The general of the Southeast Army was also full of hesitation. Looking at Suyu, who was getting closer, Guo Cheng's eyes became increasingly red. He said anxiously, "All right. If Suyu breaks out of the encirclement and escapes from here, I will not be able to escape death. But, I will explain to the commander that you refused to help me even if I die. You should know that the commander is determined to kill Suyu. Even if everyone in the encirclement escapes, he will not let Suyu off. His last words moved the guards of both sides. Indeed, the commander's intent to kill Su Yu was known to the whole world. If he knew that they had delayed the assassination of Su Yu, they would not be able to escape unscathed. With a sigh, the two armies said, "All right, you hold on. We will immediately lead the army over." Hearing that, Guo Cheng felt reassured. He raised his voice and yelled, "Did you all hear that? The intruder is not scary. The southeast and southwest armies are on their way to support us. They will be here soon to help us." The morale of the soldiers was indeed boosted. As long as the intruder was not a strong man who could easily annihilate a garrison, they, who had the weapons of the ancient civilization, had a fighting chance. "Prepare the superior extermination cannons." Guo Cheng's eyes were burning with passion as he gave the order. The group of soldiers immediately pushed out 4 300 feet tall superior extermination cannons. 20 people formed a group and imbued the cannons with divine energy, replenishing the energy of the 4 superior extermination cannons. Waves of extremely threatening destructive energy flickered within the superior extermination cannons. As long as Su Yu and the others entered the attack range, they could launch a fatal attack on them. At that moment, the guards of the southwest and southeast each dispatched half of their troops to rush over. Among them, even the general of the guards of the southeast rushed over personally. The guards of the southeast left in a hurry. At the foot of the mountain, a black-robed figure appeared in the shade of the trees. It was Zhao Tianyin. He had a mocking smile on his face. "Su Yu, oh, Su Yu. Smart as you are, you still fell for it. No matter how perfect my plan is, there are still risks. I don't want to risk being bombarded by the weapons of the ancient civilization just to force my way through with you." Looking at the guards of the southeast garrison, which was almost non-existent, the Holy Sun's face was full of pride. "You, Su Yu, only managed to distract the rest of the guards with your appearance. My real plan was to use you as bait and use your sacrifice to help me achieve my goal." As early as 2 days ago, when he was exploring this place, he had captured a scout who had gone down the mountain to investigate. He had placed a possession on him. It was supposed to be used at a critical moment to give Guo Cheng an unexpected blow from behind. However, Su Yu's appearance had changed Guo Cheng's mind. Using Su Yu to distract the guards from the other directions would undoubtedly increase their chances of breaking through the encirclement. With a cold laugh, the Holy Sun leaped onto the garrison that had slack defenses. At the same time, Su Yu and the other two, together with the Holy Sun puppet that they had not noticed, had finally attacked Guo Cheng's garrison. Guo Cheng directed the 4 superior extermination cannons to lock onto the 4 of them firmly. He said, "Su Yu, I already know that you are creating a diversion, trying to cause us to panic so that we can escape. I already know that you are acting strangely, so you don't have to pretend anymore. Surrender immediately, or you will have no chance of survival under the attack of the superior extermination cannons." However, be it Su Yu, Shuiying, or Kailin, none of them had any expression on their faces. They rushed towards the south recklessly. From the looks of it, they were prepared to force their way through. Guo Cheng was extremely calm. He said, "If that's the case, don't blame me for not leaving you alive. Superior extermination cannons, fire, boom, 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 boom." 4 earth-shattering booms resounded between heaven and earth. The mountains shook and the rivers boiled. All the weak creatures within a radius of 100,000 perished from the energy that erupted from the cannons. Su Yu and the other 3, who were facing the 4 superior extermination cannons, were blasted into pieces. Flesh and blood splattered all over the ground. The wanted criminals of the 4 great empires were killed so easily. Guo Cheng was stunned. It seemed like he was not as difficult to deal with as the rumors said. However, to be on the safe side, he still led the soldiers to the place where they fell to investigate. When they arrived at the area, flesh and blood were scattered everywhere, giving off a pungent smell of blood. Guo Cheng was relieved and said, "Collect all the flesh and blood, separate Su Yu's and hand it over to the commander." Looking at the busy soldiers, Guo Cheng was in a good mood and was quite excited. He had obtained such a great opportunity all by himself. "If I had known it would be so easy, why would I inform the 2 armies? I even let them have a share of the loot." Guo Cheng was a little regretful. At that moment, the Southwest Army arrived late. Under Guo Cheng's command, they were busy collecting Su Yu's flesh and blood. An hour later, the flesh and blood on the ground were almost all collected, especially Su Yu's. Not a single piece was left out, and it was stored in a container. "Sir, we didn't find the body of the black-robed man," the soldiers said. Guo Cheng thought to himself. The black-robed man was indeed a puppet. "There's no need to look, I know what to do," Guo Cheng said, praising the Southwest Army with a smile. Guo Cheng said as he praised the Southwest Army with a smile. "Inform your general that they will receive a share of the credit for killing Su Yu." However, until now, there was still no sign of the Southeast Army. Guo Cheng couldn't help but sneer. "It's better if they don't come, they won't get a share of the loot. Someone, bring the container to the commander," Guo Cheng ordered. However, at that moment, he glanced at the container out of the corner of his eye and suddenly felt a little strange. He fixed his eyes on it and saw that Su Yu's flesh and blood in the container was rapidly dimming, becoming transparent, and finally completely vanishing. Very soon, the entire vessel was empty. Guo Cheng was stunned, and his face immediately changed. He took out the flesh and blood of Shueying and Kailin, but it turned out to be empty as well. The blood in the hands of the soldiers who collected the flesh and blood also disappeared without a trace. Swish. Suddenly, Guo Cheng seemed to sense something. He raised his head and looked up into the sky. A huge eye hidden in the sky was slowly dimming. The strange light emitted by the eye had a subtle hallucinatory effect. Seeing this scene, Guo Cheng felt as if his heart had been struck by thousands of lightning bolts. "Oh no! We've been tricked! Southwest Army, all of you return immediately." Although the Holy Sun was a puppet, Su Yu and the two puppets were also illusions. The huge eye released an illusion with an extremely wide range. It was extremely realistic, and everyone present had been fooled. Su Yu and his two companions did not appear in the south at all. At this moment, the Southwest and Southeast armies were at their weakest. Those two places were Su Yu's real breakout points. At the Southeast garrison, the Holy Sun leaped up the mountain with a little bit of satisfaction from successfully tricking Su Yu and was about to fly away. Chapter 1431. Behind the superior extermination cannons, a black-faced general stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He laughed mockingly. "I've been waiting for a long time, Saint of the Moonwatch Sec." The saint had fallen into an ambush. Staring at the four terrifying superior extermination cannons, the complacency on his face froze. It was replaced by confusion and shock. Didn't we go to the south to support them? Is that what you want to ask?" The black-faced general mocked. He took out a messaging jade pendant and imbued it with divine energy. A familiar voice came from it. "The Saint of the Moonwatch sect, Zhao Tianyin, will break through from your position. Do not leave with the army." Upon hearing that, the saint's face fell. Su Yu. He couldn't believe that it was Su Yu who had persuaded the black-faced general to lead the army to support them. They listened to Su Yu's advice. Not only did they not leave, but they also prepared a perfect killing trap for Zhao Tianyin to step in. "It's him. He betrayed me," Zhao Tianyin said angrily. His complacency from scheming against Su Yu vanished into thin air. Instead, he felt greatly humiliated. He thought he had tricked Su Yu, but it turned out that Su Yu had tricked him instead. "Activate the seal." The black-faced general chuckled. The two soldiers beside him took out the special seal that they had prepared beforehand. Zhao Tianyin wanted to resist, but he had no courage in front of the four superior extermination cannons at such close range. In the end, he was placed with two seals, which sealed both his sorcery and physical strength, making him an ordinary person. The black-faced general laughed. "Mission accomplished. Capture the Saint of the Moonwatch sect alive. As for General Guo and the Southwest Army, I can't take care of you." At the Southwest Army station, a fair-faced general received an urgent message from Guo Cheng. "Su Yu is breaking through from your position, be careful." Guo Cheng's tone was extremely urgent, which startled the fair-faced general. However, as the leader of the army, he reacted quickly. He immediately said, "Everyone, listen up. Prepare the superior extermination cannons." The 4 superior extermination cannons began to imbue energy immediately. However, because half of the army had been deployed, the speed of activation was greatly reduced. Right at that moment, the 4 superior extermination cannons flew into the sky uncontrollably, circling around a silver-haired youth who had suddenly appeared. A wisp of mysterious intent lingered in his palm. The white-faced general's expression changed drastically. The secret of the Empire of Darkness, the 6 laws of mind control. Raising his head and staring at the silver-haired youth, the white-faced general said in a grave voice, "Su Yu. It's really you." Su Yu pointed at the air and kept the 4 300-feet-long superior extermination cannons into his space ring. Only then did he look at the white-faced general. Long time no see. That day in the dungeon, this general under Nitian Hanxing had met Su Yu once. At that time, Su Yu was far from being his match. But now, glancing at the large number of soldiers behind him, Su Yu said with a faint smile, "Hurry up and run for your lives. Don't die at the hands of Nitian Hanxing instead of the wizard tribe." Saying so, he turned around and left. The white-faced general wanted to stop him, but old Huang's personal experience and what he had seen and heard made him hesitate. Without the superior extermination cannon, he would not be a match for Su Yu at all. Instead, he would be easily defeated by Su Yu. Watching Su Yu leave, he and the soldiers behind him turned pale. With Nitian Hanxing's ruthlessness and coldness, they would never be forgiven for committing such a grave mistake. The white-faced general was extremely bitter. He looked back at the soldiers behind him. "Do you want to wait for death, or do you want to follow me to hide in the lost nation and live out your days in this world?" The soldiers looked sorrowful, but who in this world wanted to wait for death? "General Bai, we are willing to follow you. We will go wherever you go." "Yes, General Bai, the world is so big, why should we go back to the Empire? The vast territory of the Lost Nation is not necessarily all the territory of the Wizard tribe. We can definitely find our own future here." The white-faced general was also waiting for this sentence. He did not want to die either. He raised his arm and shouted, "All right, brothers, come with me." Soon, there was no one left in the southwest. The garrison army had all defected. This matter was not concealed for long. Guo Cheng soon learned of it, and his face changed drastically. All of this could be said to be Guo Cheng's fault. If he had not misjudged and threatened the white-faced general to mobilize the army, how could Su Yu have escaped so easily? Even the white-faced general knew that he could not escape death. As the culprit, how could Guo Cheng not know what would happen to him? Su Yu, you have caused me so much suffering." Guo Cheng looked up to the sky and sighed. Soon after, there was another army mutiny. The garrison army in the south all defected, and at the same time, they took away 4 extremely precious superior extermination cannon. This incident had undoubtedly alarmed the commander, Nitian Hanxing. He had been in charge of the army for many years, and there had never been such a defection. With a cold expression on his face, Nitian Hanxing patiently listened to the commander of the Southwest Defense patiently explain the ins and outs of the matter. His eyes were filled with a gloomy light, and he slammed his palm on the table, smashing it into pieces. "Su Yu, instigate the 2 garrisons to defect. I, the commander, will make you beg for death. Pass the order, track Su Yu's direction." Countless mountains and rivers away, after Su Yu was safe, he released Shueying and Kaylin from the Buddha beads. Although they were in the space ring, the situation outside could be hidden from Kaylin, but it could not be hidden from the level 3 Shueying. Her colorful eyes were gleaming. "How did you know that Zhao Tianyin was up to no good?" Su Yu laughed. His thoughts were written all over his face. "How could I not be on guard?" Kaylin chuckled at Shueying. That saint really schemed against the wrong person. Su Yu is the master of scheming. Whoever schemed against him often met a more tragic end, without exception. Having gone through many experiences with Su Yu, Kaylin knew a lot about this enigmatic man. "I don't know if you are complimenting me or belittling me." Su Yu was annoyed. "I did not trust Zhao Tianyin from the beginning. However, if he was really willing to cooperate, I would never harm him. Unfortunately, he used me as bait and used my sacrifice to fulfill his wish. I can only return the favor." Shueying chuckled. I'm guessing that the saint has most likely fallen into the hands of the God Realm's army. Now, the saint lady can rest easy. Unexpectedly, Suyu's expression gradually turned serious. He shook his head. Rest easy? I don't think so. The situation of the wizard tribe now is no longer a matter of the competition between the two heirs, but a matter of whether we can keep it. Upon hearing that, Shuiying understood what Suyu meant. His overflowing expression was replaced by solemnity. The great army was approaching. If the appearance of the God Realm's soldiers in the cave was not enough to worry about, then the encirclement of the outpost was enough to alarm them. Not only was the God Realm's army approaching the city, but they were also going to strike soon. The enemy came aggressively and used their troops like a god. They attacked all the way to the hinterland of the Lost Nation and headed straight for Fan capital. This was a crisis that had never been faced before. Whether the wizard tribe could survive was still uncertain. The choice of the sect leader was secondary. I think we should return to the Saint capital immediately, Shuiying said. He was eager to report what he had seen and heard so as to raise the vigilance of the wizard tribe. Suyu said, "Your strength alone has little impact on the overall situation. There are still the sect leader and 2 temple masters in the Saint capital. Even if you go back, you won't be able to decide anything. You might as well stay on the front line. With your strength, it will be easier for you to grasp information and clues that ordinary wizards can't. I'll listen to you, Brother Su." Shuiying thought about it for a while and felt that what Suyu said made sense. If she returned to the Saint capital, her only role would be to be worshipped as the Saint Lady. She would be far less useful than staying on the front line. Moreover, she had some private messages. If she went back now, it would not be easy for her to stay by Suyu's side in the name of Shuiying. Then where should we go? Fan capital is in danger. Should we go and inform them? Shuiying actually had an idea in mind, but a smart woman would always leave the opportunity for the man to show off. Suyu said, "The Fan capital is lost." Niti and Hanxing came aggressively and spent a lot of effort to besiege the Blackwood Forest. It is obvious that he is determined to get the Fan capital. There must be ambushes everywhere around the Fan capital. We have just come out of the wolf's den, how can we enter the tiger's den? Then where should we go? Suyu's thoughts coincided with Shuiying's, but he still pretended to have no opinion. Suyu thought about it, opened the space of the Buddha bead, and released a young man who was still unconscious. Wang Qingchen? Shuiying and Kailin were surprised at the same time. I met him in the Azura Forbidden Lands. He was seriously injured and is still in a coma. Suyu frowned slightly. His injuries are a bit strange. In addition to being invaded by the power of Azura, there is a strange force in his body. When I was in isolation, I tried to heal him, but it didn't work. Even when Suyu used the Milky Way star sand, he could not extract that strange force. That strange force entangled with the power of Azura, fused, and entangled tightly in his body. That was why his injuries could not heal and he was still in a coma. Shuiying looked suspicious. Let me try. She pointed her finger at Wang Qingchen's abdomen, and a red and black light burst out, bouncing Shuiying's finger away. The black force was the land of Azura, but the red force was unknown. Shuiying's face was solemn. It's the power of red dust. Seeing that Suyu was confused, Shuiying said, "The Saint capital guards the forbidden lands of 10,000 demons, the Fan capital guards the Azura forbidden lands, and the Wang clan of Shun capital guards the forbidden lands of red dust." Suyu had seen the forbidden lands of red dust in ancient books. It was one of the 3 great forbidden lands. Unlike the unpredictable dangers of the Azura forbidden lands, the interior of the forbidden lands of red dust was peaceful and dreamy, like a paradise on earth. The creatures living there did not fight, hurt, or kill each other. Different races could fall in love, and marry each other at will. All the training resources were distributed fairly among each other. There was no force of the strong preying on the weak. Everyone stood on the same starting line. Even the top strong men never looked down on the weak juniors. Instead, they would patiently pass on their training experience to them. In that place, all the creatures lived in peace and harmony. It could be said that it was the country of everyone's dreams. Being in it was like being in the mortal world. Many creatures of the Lost Nation admired this place and entered it, blending into the world of red dust. However, they would never return and would forever remain within. Chapter 1432. In history, there was an ambitious leader of the Moonwatch sect who tried to conquer the red dust forbidden lands. In the end, he became one of them. Someone once saw the ambitious leader at the entrance, like a mortal, warmly and kindly carrying manure and watering vegetables for an old farmer. Since then, the entrance to the red dust forbidden lands has been sealed, forbidding any creatures from approaching. The danger of the mortal world forbidden area was that the minds of all living beings that entered it would be controlled, and they would be trapped there forever until they passed away in meditation. In terms of danger, it was more dangerous than the Azura forbidden land. The most disturbing thing was that there was only one layer of the red dust forbidden lands. If this layer of seal was broken, the red dust forbidden lands would come to the world, and the entire Lost Nation would be included in the red dust world. All creatures would lose themselves and be controlled. As for what was sealed in the red dust forbidden lands, it was even more unknown. It was more mysterious than the Azura forbidden land. But why would the red dust forbidden lands, which had been sealed for countless years, appear in Wang Qingchen's body? Whoever started the trouble should untie it. The Wang clan is the only one who knows the most about the red dust forbidden lands. I believe only the Wang clan knows why this thing appeared in the heir's body, Shuiying said. Su Yu nodded slightly. Shung capital and Fan capital are separated by half of the Blackwood Forest. The distance is not far, and it is the best distance to inquire about the situation in Fan capital. We can send Wang Qingchen back to heal, and we can also use Shung capital as a base to inquire about the news. Shuiying was pleased. Su Yu's suggestion once again coincided with hers. She couldn't help but feel sweet in her heart, as if she was happier than if she had done it herself. What are you laughing at? Su Yu noticed his strange expression and strange eyes. Shuiying's heart skipped a beat, and he hurriedly said, "No, nothing." He hurriedly bowed his head and shyly avoided Su Yu's eyes. Su Yu was slightly uncomfortable looking at him. He always felt that Shuiying was very awkward. The way he looked at him was different from how he looked at others. He couldn't help but mutter, Shuiying wouldn't be gay, would he? Thinking of this, Su Yu had a layer of goosebumps all over his body. He quietly kept a little distance and said, "Let's go immediately." As soon as they left, a group of elusive figures appeared behind them, as if they were strange, transparent creatures. They looked in Su Yu's direction from afar and said in a low voice, "Go back and report to the commander." They did not return to the Saint capital. Instead, they went to the Shung capital. Shung capital was located at the west end of the Blackwood Forest, forming a triangle with the northernmost Saint capital and the easternmost Fan capital. The three of them formed a very standard triangle, which was very strange. Compared to Fan capital, Shung capital was not as prosperous. Because it was located in the far west, the lack of resources was less than that of the east. Naturally, there were very few wizards who came here to search for resources. However, that was only when compared to the Fan capital. In terms of prosperity, it was even stronger than the four great empires of the God territory. In the past, Shung capital would have been bustling with people and carriages. However, when Su Yu and the others arrived, they saw that the city gates had been sealed, and troops of the Wang clan were patrolling above the city walls. His demeanor made it seem as if the battle was about to break out in Shung capital, not Fan capital. Su Yu was full of praise. They are both important ministers who guard the borders, but the Wang clan and the Chu clan are worlds apart. Now, the Chu clan did not have much defense and was extremely lax, but the Wang clan in the distance was on full alert. The contrast between the two was obvious. The sky above the city was restricted from flying, and there were soldiers standing guard and patrolling on every city wall. The only way to enter the city was through the city gates. However, the city gates were tightly shut, leaving only a small door that could only allow one person to pass through. Behind the door, there were several wizards who had reached level 3 aura, personally inspecting the people who entered the city. On the city gates, there was an extremely eye-catching seal. During special times, only entry is allowed in Shung capital, and no exit is allowed. If there is nothing important, Please leave Shun capital as soon as possible. This was to prevent enemy spies from sneaking into the city, unlike the outpost in the Blackwood Forest, where one could enter and leave at will as long as one paid. As a result, the important soldiers guarding the Wizard Phoenix were bribed, causing the outpost to be surrounded and wiped out. Su Yu and the other two came to the small door and queued up to enter. Next, someone shouted from the door, and Su Yu lowered his head and walked through the small door. However, as soon as he entered, a sharp knife was placed on his neck. It was an Emperor-based saint artifact, and even a level 3 deity's head could be chopped off with a single stroke. In addition, there were 2 powerful wizard curses hidden in the shadows, ready to blast at Su Yu at any time. Humph! What a citizen of the God Realm! It seems like the spies you killed previously weren't enough, and you still dare to come to Shun capital to spy on us. An old man with a pale face bellowed. Su Yu was a little speechless, and said, I don't care who you are. Who else but spies could come to Shun capital now? The old man with a pale face was about to slash Su Yu with his knife. Fortunately, an old man beside him stopped him in time. Zhang Larodao, take a look at who he is. The hot-tempered old man was named Zhang Larodao. He fixed his eyes on Su Yu and found him familiar. After thinking about it, he was shocked. It's you, Su Yu? If there was a citizen of the God Realm in the Lost Nation whom they recognized and would not treat with hostility, it was Su Yu. The sect master had personally guaranteed that he was a citizen of the God Realm without hostility. Su Yu flicked the knife away from his neck with his fingers, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. I didn't die in the hands of those people from Fan Capital, but was almost beheaded by you people from Shun Capital. Only then did they realize that Su Yu had come back from the competition. Zhang Larodao touched his neck awkwardly and laughed. This is my temper. I was blind for a moment, please don't mind me, my young friend. However, since you came back from Fan Capital, do you know what the situation is like in Fan Capital? The old man beside him added, you may not know this, but recently we found a group of people from the God Realm of unknown origins hiding in Shun Capital. They were spying on us everywhere. Fortunately, we found them in time and captured them alive. Only then did we find out that the God Realm Great Army had launched a surprise attack all the way to Fan Capital, and that Shun Capital was their next target. Su Yu was surprised. What kind of spy would be caught so easily and divulge the news that the God Realm Great Army was coming to Fan Capital so easily? However, it was no wonder that Shun Capital was so guarded as if it was facing a great enemy. Yes, we contacted that old man Chulong, but he didn't even reply. We have no idea what's going on in Fan Capital. Zhang Larodao snorted, looking quite disdainful. He called the Chu clan master by his name, which showed his straightforward character. Su Yu said in a low voice, I'm afraid you have misunderstood Chulong. He didn't reply not because he was unwilling, but because he couldn't. Zhang Larodao raised his nostrils. Who does he think he is? Our clan master personally sent a message, but he didn't reply at all. Why can't he? It can't be because he is already dead. Hearing this, the 4 level 3 wizards were shocked. What? The Chu clan master is dead. How did he die? The fall of a dignified clan master was no less than a super earthquake. Su Yu said, it's a long story. I also brought back Wang Qingchen. He is seriously injured and needs to be seen by your clan master. If it is convenient, I would like to see him now. Knowing that Wang Qingchen was seriously injured, their hearts tightened again and they hurriedly made arrangements. Follow us back to the Wang mansion, Zhang Larodao said. However, I'm afraid you'll have to wait to see the clan master. Before you came, the Saint Capital also sent people here to inquire about what happened in Fan Capital. Now the clan master is meeting with them. Oh, who came? Shui Ying's eyes were filled with anticipation. Zhang Larodao said casually, this is a very serious matter. The 2 temple masters are here, and they brought many of their temple members with them. Shui Ying was overjoyed. Master, oh, the temple masters are here too. Su Yu wasn't too surprised. He thought about it and said, what I'm about to say is very important. It's good that the 2 temple masters are here. Please inform the master about Chulong's death and the arrival of the God Realm's great army at Fan Capital. I want to make it clear in front of everyone." Hearing this, Zhang Laodao felt that it made sense. For such a big matter, it was best that the three supreme martial artists were here. "All right. Wait in the side hall first." Zhang Laodao brought them here to rest and left in a hurry. Not long after, he hurried back and said anxiously, "Let's go." When the three lords heard what you said, they wanted to come and question you personally. It was obvious that they were also very shocked by the news that Su Yu brought back. When they arrived at the main hall, there was the sage-like Wang clan master, the mistress of the greatest Saint Lady Temple, and the master of the Holy Saint Temple, who was silent. Behind the two temple masters stood the level 3 wizards who held high positions in the temple. Su Yu's arrival received different reactions from the two temple masters and the temple members. Of course, the mistress of the greatest Saint Lady Temple and the temple members were gratified, but the master of the Holy Saint Temple did not look happy. The Wang clan master stood up to welcome him and said, "Congratulations on your victorious return, my young friend Su." Although there was a smile on his face, the worry between his brows could not be hidden. Su Yu cupped his fists and sat upright. "The situation is urgent, so I will tell you everything that has happened in front of the three elders." Then, from Su Yu's entry into the Azura Forbidden Lands, to his encounter with Wang Qingchen, to the strange changes in the Azura Forbidden Lands, and finally provoking the three ferocious beasts to kill each other, to Chu Long's attack on Ling Wu, he told them everything in detail. The only thing he concealed was that Su Yu had obtained the keys to the level 1 and level 2 of the Azura Forbidden Lands. Hearing this, everyone present was horrified. The Wang clan master was shocked. They really dared to tamper with the prohibition and assassinate Ling Wu? Su Yu did not say a word and played the recorded video in front of everyone. The mistress of the greatest Saint Lady Temple had a cold look in her eyes. They have committed many crimes and brought about their own destruction. How dare they set their sights on the Forbidden Lands? They deserved to die. Chu Long's death was finally explained, although his death was so unexpected. Next, let's talk about the God Realm Army. The three of them looked solemn. This was what they were most worried about. Su Yu explained in detail the ambush in the cave and the encirclement of the Blackwood Forest. After listening, based on their many years of experience, they made a judgment similar to Su Yu's. The God Realm Army was about to launch a war against the Fan capital, and it would happen very quickly. Chapter 1433. The mistress of the greatest Saint Lady Temple also got up to leave after a moment of silence. "Since we have no way of contacting Fan capital, the only possibility is that Fan capital has been besieged by the army and cannot send out any distress signals. I should also form a team to gather information. If Fan capital is really in a crisis, I think both Shun capital and Shun capital will need support." The Wang clan master also said, "I have the same idea. Even if we are to help, we must have specific information. Otherwise, it will be easy to fall into a trap and be ambushed by the God Realm Army." The three supreme masters reached an agreement to first send a team to inquire about the situation. The two mistresses left one after another. When the mistress of the greatest Saint Lady Temple left, she looked at Shuiying and then turned a blind eye to her. This made Shuiying feel guilty, and a blush appeared on her face. After sending the two of them away, the Wang clan master's face finally showed a touch of anxiety, and he hurriedly said, "Little friend Su, how is my son?" Su Yu released Wang Qingchen and said, "His life is not in danger, but I can't help him with his injuries." The Wang clan master felt Wang Qingchen's pulse, and his anxious look eased. It seemed that he did not care much about the power of the mortal world. His face relaxed a little, and he cupped his hands towards Su Yu. "Little friend Su, my son is a great benefactor, and I can't repay it. If you don't mind, how about entering the Heavenly Fire Spirit Pool with my son in 3 days?" Heavenly Fire Spirit Pool? Su Yu was a little confused. The ancient books did not mention that the Wang clan had such a thing. Beside him, Shuiying's face burst with surprise and envy. Even with his status, he still showed envy. It was obvious that even he was not qualified to enter the Heavenly Fire Spirit Pool. The Heavenly Fire Spirit Pool is a holy place for cultivation that the Chu clan helped us build in the past. It is full of divine fire from outer space, which can burn away the impurities in the spirit. It has an unparalleled effect on enlightenment. The Wang clan master saw that Su Yu was at a loss and explained to him with a bitter smile. In the world, anyone who knew about the heavenly fire spirit pool would want to get a chance to cultivate. The two temple masters had requested to give the saint and the saint lady a chance to cultivate. However, the divine fire was very limited. It was only the size of a palm every year, and there was only one chance to temper it every 10 years. How could he be willing to give the opportunity to outsiders? As for Su Yu, firstly, Su Yu had saved Wang Qingchen's life. No matter how much he wanted to repay him, it would not be too much. Secondly, Su Yu's abilities were extremely strong. Now that the God Realm's great army was invading, they would naturally try their best to win him over if they could. Su Yu was tempted. Because he had devoured many souls, there were many impurities in his mind. If the divine fire really had such a miraculous effect, it would be of great help to him in comprehending the Tao. Thank you, Wang clan master. Su Yu gladly accepted. The Wang clan leader looked at Shui Ying again and said after some thought, "You should come along too." He naturally recognized Shui Ying's identity. He muttered to himself, why would the holy maiden dress up as a man and accompany Su Yu? Moreover, the mistress of the greatest Saint Lady Temple seemed to have acquiesced. Could it be that their wedding was imminent, and their relationship had already been confirmed? If that's the case, then I can't be stingy and give her a name. Shui Ying was overjoyed. Thank you, Wang clan leader. She had never expected that the Wang clan leader would give her a chance. This was the divine fire from beyond the heavens that countless people dreamed of. She had been practicing sorcery for many years and had made rapid progress. During this time, she had used extreme methods to hasten her growth. It was not obvious from the outside, but it had an undeniable impact on her mind. If she was not careful, it might be difficult for her to break through the shackles of level 2 for the rest of her life. It would be great if she could use the divine fire from beyond the heavens. She stole a glance at Su Yu and understood that the Wang clan leader was doing this for Su Yu's sake. She couldn't help but secretly rejoice. However, she didn't understand why Kaylin didn't have such an opportunity when they were both accompanying Su Yu. Kaylin wasn't disappointed in this. She had no problems with her soul, so it made no difference whether she went or not. Get ready. You will enter the heavenly fire spirit pool in 3 days. I will personally lead you there. Su Yu and the others were arranged to rest in the superior guest rooms of the Wang mansion. Su Yu went into seclusion without hesitation and took out a huge cannon that was 300 feet long. Looking at the familiar giant cannon, Su Yu's eyes sparkled with joy. Years ago, at the auction, a broken small superior extermination cannon was sold for a sky-high price of millions of divine coins. Wouldn't this complete, brand new superior extermination cannon be worth hundreds of millions of divine coins? Even if it was worth hundreds of millions, it would be priceless and no one would sell it. After all, it was a terrible weapon that could destroy level 3 with one shot. No one would want such a threat to fall into the hands of others and be used against them, right? I didn't expect the heaven-defying empire to hide such a terrible ancient civilization weapon. Su Yu was secretly shocked. Any empire's resources were not to be underestimated. It seemed like he had somewhat underestimated them. I just don't know how strong the heritage of the Empire of Darkness is. If it is also hidden. Su Yu pondered and suddenly remembered that when he was in the mansion of General Shangguan, he had accidentally detected an extremely terrible breath of destruction coming from under his mansion. Could it be a civilization weapon too? General Shangguan was in control of the military force of the Empire of Darkness. It was not surprising that he had a civilization weapon. I don't know what the situation is like in the Empire of Darkness. The Shui nation of the Northern Territory has rebelled and joined the heaven-defying empire. The mermaid tribe in the south has rebelled. The whole country is in turmoil, but there is no news at all. Su Yu thought to himself. However, there is a hidden elder, Yongye Chomo, who is likely to reach level 1. Even if he is besieged to the point where only the imperial city is left, he should have nothing to fear, right? The thought of Yongye Chomo sent chills down Su Yu's spine. This person was the most dangerous existence in the ancient god realm and the lost nation. If he wanted to, He could easily change the situation of the continent. Fortunately, he could not give up in the process of refining the dragon pearl. Otherwise, if he really left the mountain, Su Yu shuddered at the thought of it. After checking the superior extermination cannon, Su Yu found that it had traces of being refined. The refinement was very deep and did not seem to be ordinary. That's true. How could such a precious thing be easily obtained by an outsider? Su Yu smiled. The Milky Way star sand swirled in his palm and he placed it on the superior extermination cannon. Suddenly, a wisp of milky white liquid was slowly extracted. The liquid contained extremely powerful energy and a sense of defiance. It could even resist the Milky Way star sand. However, in the face of absolute disparity, it was still extracted in the end. Su Yu put it in a container and was surprised. Milky white, full of defiance. Could this be the divine blood of the heaven-defying empire's monarch, Nitian Guyun? The divine blood of a level 3 was grayish-white. The divine blood of a level 2 was milky white. The divine blood of a monarch of an empire? Su Yu's eyes were filled with excitement. After some thought, he took out the other 3 superior extermination cannons and extracted all the divine blood from them. There were 4 drops of divine blood in total. Haha, the divine blood of a level 2 deity, even if it is an inanimate object, has endless power. It must be something good to use. Su Yu's eyes were filled with joy. He had obtained some good treasures. 4 superior extermination cannons and 4 drops of the blood of a monarch of the heaven-defying empire. The isolation lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. The Wang clan master came to invite them into the heavenly fire spirit pool as promised. There was another person who came to invite them together, Wang Qingchen. In just 3 days, the power of red dust and the power of Azura in his body had not only been eliminated, but his injuries had also recovered. Su Yu was secretly surprised. Where did the power of red dust come from? And how was it dispelled? Brother Su, words cannot express my gratitude. If you need my help in the future, just let me know. Whether it's climbing a mountain of swords or diving into a sea of fire, as long as Brother Su says the word, I, Wang Qingchen, will not bat an eyelid. Su Yu laughed. Climbing a mountain of swords or diving into a sea of fire, Wang clan master has to be willing. The Wang clan master laughed. Why not? I'll send my son into the sea of fire now. After a while, they came to an important place in the mansion, a heavily guarded hall. Inside the hall was a statue of the wizard ancestor. It contained the power of space and was somewhat similar to the deity statues in the tribe. Under the guidance of the Wang clan master, they used the teleportation function of the deity statue to reach an unknown depth underground. This place was scorching hot, not only from the body, but also from the soul. Near them was a small pool with a radius of 3 feet. The pool was burning with a purple-gray flame, which was very special. Visible to the naked eye, there is a spring the size of a needle at the bottom of the pool. A red viscous liquid, similar to magma, is slowly flowing out. Wang Qingchen said, "It's very inconspicuous, isn't it? This is the legendary Heavenly Fire Spirit Pool. It can only accumulate such a small pool every 10 years, just enough for the 3 of us to use." Su Yu looked at the eye of the needle and said, "The heavenly fire gushes out from the eye of the spring, right?" Wang Qingchen nodded. Yes. The entire underground you see was smashed by a meteorite. This pool was dug on the meteorite, and the heavenly fire in the spirit pool came from the meteorite below. If that's the case, why not expand the eye of the spring? Su Yu was surprised. Wang Qingchen smiled bitterly. Do you think we don't want to? In order to excavate this spring, we had to ask the Chu clan for help. We used the demon-subduing drum in their hands to open up the eye of the spring the size of a needle, but that's all. This meteorite is solid beyond imagination. Su Yu touched his chin, took out the golden flames forbidden wood sword, and slashed it on the meteorite. As a result, not even a trace was left on the surface of the meteorite. Instead, the tip of the golden flames forbidden wood sword was scratched. It's really hard. Su Yu was secretly surprised. No wonder the eye of the spring was only the size of a needle. Okay, let's go in, Wang Qingchen said. He looked at Su Yu, then at Shuiying, and said, The heavenly fire in the spirit pool can easily damage your clothes. I suggest you take off your clothes first. Ah! Shuiying's face turned red, and she was speechless. Su Yu cast a strange look at her. Why not? Wang Qingchen looked at Shuiying strangely and muttered to himself, I almost forgot that they are husband and wife. As an outsider, it is certainly inconvenient for me to be present. Haha, it doesn't matter. There is a special prohibition here that can divide the spirit pool into two, just to prevent such a situation from happening. He stepped on a wizard rune under his foot. The rune immediately changed. Then, a thick light curtain separated from the heavenly fire spirit pool, dividing the spirit pool into two halves, forming two independent spaces. Wang Qingchen very naturally occupied one and stepped into it. He looked back at them and smiled mysteriously. Haha, I won't disturb you too, but you have to pay attention to moderation, okay? What the hell is going on? Su Yu was speechless. Looking at the only independent space left, he said to Shuiying, do you want to go with him, or me? Chapter 1434. You. Shuiying's voice was trembling. The two of them entered the compartment. Due to the limited space, they were only 10 feet apart. Brother Su, can you let me stand behind you? Shuiying was using sorcery energy to protect his body. He would have to release his sorcery energy when he entered the tempering state. With the high temperature here, his clothes would definitely be burnt. Su Yu looked at him strangely. He was a little scared. Did he really have that kind of special fetish? However, this was a rare opportunity. Su Yu did not want to miss it. He said, all right, but you'd better not do anything out of line. Shuiying snorted secretly. I'm afraid you'll do something out of line. Soon, Su Yu entered the state of training. He released his divine energy to protect himself. The blazing flame immediately burned his body, burning his clothes. Soon, Su Yu turned into a man of fire. This little flame could not cause any harm to Su Yu's body. It was only a little scorching. However, Su Yu's mind felt as if it was being burned. He felt a heart-wrenching pain. Layers of invisible, formless objects were being burned by the flame. Su Yu almost couldn't bear the intense pain, which made him feel like he was about to explode. However, it was precisely because of this that Su Yu was even more excited. The more impurities there were in the soul, the more painful it would be. The tempering effect of the heavenly fire on the soul was indeed not just for show. Su Yu was silently rejoicing while enduring the pain. At this time, Shuiying, who was behind him, also entered the state of training. As soon as he released his sorcery energy, his clothes were immediately burned. Even the faint layer of sorcery energy on the surface of his body was burned away. His handsome male disguise was broken, revealing a milky white, beautiful body. Mature breasts, slender figure, slender legs, there was nothing to hide. That pure and beautiful face was even more soul-stirring. However, this woman was none other than the Saint Lady. She had been pretending to be Shuiying to accompany Su Yu. The heavenly fire entered her mind. The pain caused Saint Lady's body to tremble and she let out a muffled groan. It was a woman's voice. Fortunately, Su Yu was wholeheartedly tempering his soul and did not pay attention to the outside world. Saint Lady's face was flushed. She crossed her arms in front of her chest, covering her snow-white bosom. She did not dare to look at Su Yu's naked upper body. She immediately closed her eyes and silently endured the tempering. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. The temperature of the flames in the heavenly fire spirit pool was getting weaker and weaker, and the pain in Su Yu's mind was also gradually weakening until he could no longer feel anything. This was a sign that the impurities in his soul were being burned away. At this moment, Su Yu's soul was unprecedentedly relaxed. It was as if a 200-kilogram man had suddenly become so skinny that he was only 100 kilograms. The feeling of being reborn was indescribable. In terms of comprehension, there was indeed a qualitative leap. For example, the limitless style. Su Yu suddenly understood many obscure parts of it. It was as if he had gained a deeper understanding of this style overnight. This included the 6 fundamental laws of mind control. Su Yu did not deliberately try to comprehend it, but he had quietly touched the edge of the upper class. This was something he had never experienced before. Su Yu's eyes shone with excitement. He wished he could continue. Unfortunately, the heavenly fire was limited, and he would have to wait another 10 years before he could temper his soul again. "I'm hungry." At that moment, a voice suddenly echoed in Su Yu's mind, startling him. Following the source of the voice, Su Yu looked at one of the Buddha beads on his wrist, revealing a look of surprise. He immediately let go of the Buddha beads, and a fat, round little boy rolled out of it. He looked 5 or 6 years old, and his eyes were different. One was ice blue, and the other was fiery red. He blinked his big, watery eyes and shouted at Su Yu that he was hungry. Seeing that the tears were rolling, Su Yu was shocked and quickly threw 2 drops of the blood of the heaven-defying divine warrior that he had extracted. He did not dare to let this little ancestor cry. If he cried, the tears that fell would be enough to kill everyone in Shun capital. Needless to say, this little boy was the remains of the ice and fire divine warrior, formed from the 2 divine eyes. He had fallen into a deep sleep before, but now he had woken up. Looking around, he found that not only had Wang Qingchen left, but Shuiying, who was in the other compartment, had also gone ashore. Their soul impurities are far less than mine. Su Yu thought for a moment and said, "This is good. Exposing the remains of the ice and fire divine warrior is more or less troublesome. I am still hungry," he said as he happily ate 2 drops of divine blood. Su Yu's face was bitter. Only then did he realize that he seemed to have grown up. When he first saw him, he looked like a 3-year-old, but now he looked like a 5 or 6-year-old. The difference was doubled, and even his appetite had increased. According to the blood of the heaven-defying divine warrior that he had stored, it was not enough for him to eat for a long time. Suddenly, the little boy suddenly looked down at the spiritual pool under his feet, and his eyes lit up. "Delicious. There is delicious food down there." His left and right eyes each shot out a beam of extreme ice and extreme fire energy. Su Yu was dumbfounded. The meteorite that the demon-subduing drum could only leave a pinhole was pierced by the 2 beams of light, leaving fist-sized holes in it. From the inside of the meteorite, a large amount of heavenly fire spewed out. The little boy was beaming, lying at the mouth of the spring, and swallowed in big mouthfuls. After just 2 mouthfuls, he could not swallow any more because he was too full. Su Yu's eyes lit up. How could there be any hesitation? Immediately, he found a huge utensil and filled it with the heavenly fire that was spewing out. Su Yu did not stop until he had filled 100 utensils the size of a house. At this moment, the heavenly fire inside the meteorite no longer erupted, but flowed slowly. Even so, it overflowed the heaven pool and flowed all over the ground. With so much heavenly fire, Su Yu could not help but be overjoyed. He touched the boy's head with appreciation. "Good job. If you want to eat in the future, come to me at any time." With so much heavenly fire, he did not have to worry about food. Right at that moment, Su Yu's feet were touched by something flowing. When he looked down, he saw that it was a piece of black paper. It came out of the meteorite along with the heavenly fire and flowed all the way to Su Yu's feet. "What is this?" Su Yu picked it up curiously and saw that on the black post, there were a few words that ordinary people could not possibly understand. The words of the heavenly book. Su Yu was taken aback. The words on it were the words of the heavenly book. A wisp of faintly discernible power of the laws lingered between the handwriting. Opening the black post, it was full of densely packed words of the heavenly book, more than 90% of which Su Yu did not understand. He had comprehended 10% of the heavenly book, but there was still 90% that he did not understand, which meant that the words of the heavenly book in this post covered a wide range of areas. It was likely that it was written by a strong man who was proficient in all the words of the heavenly book. What shocked Su Yu even more was that writing the words of the heavenly book might not be a big deal. Su Yu asked himself if he could write a few words of the heavenly book. However, every word of the heavenly book on this black post carried the power of law. This was not something that Su Yu could do. He could integrate the power of law so easily. What kind of magical power was this? Was it the 9 emperors of heaven and earth? Probably more than that. The 9 emperors of heaven and earth used their lives to carve a stone tablet, and the words of the heavenly book on it did not contain any law. The person who wrote the Black Post was a more terrifying existence than the 9 emperors. Thinking of this, Su Yu suddenly felt that the Black Post in his hand was heavy. With a little curiosity, Su Yu read it again. Su Yu happened to recognize most of the words of the heavenly book on the cover. The original words were invitation to the Tao Abyss. What is the Tao Abyss? Su Yu was surprised. Flipping through the content of the post, Su Yu could only recognize 7 or 8 words, and only 3 of them were coherent. Pathmaster of the True Fire. What is a Pathmaster? Su Yu could not understand what was mentioned. Tao Abyss, Pathmaster, what was that? Was it something or a creature that had once appeared in the Star River God realm? Just as Su Yu was wondering, the space nearby shifted. Someone was coming in. Su Yu put away the Black Post and said to the little boy, "Little Icefire, there are a lot of bad people out there. Come in and hide for a while, and I'll let you out when it's safe, okay?" The little boy sucked on his finger and said adorably, "Who is Little Icefire?" "Your new name." The little boy's eyes lit up, and he said with a smile, "Well, I think someone called me that before. Then I'll be Little Icefire." Su Yu opened up the space of the Buddha bead, and Little Icefire went in obediently. Soon, the space fluctuated, and Shuiying's figure flashed out. He opened his eyes and said happily, "You're finally awake." "I've made you worry," Su Yu said. Shuiying smiled bitterly. "We were worried about you." Su Yu understood what he was implying, and he said, "Oh? Did something happen out there?" Shuiying said, "Do you remember that half a month ago, the Wang clan master, the mistress of the greatest Saint Lady Temple, and the lord of the Holy Saint Temple each sent a team to gather information?" "Of course I remember. How is the situation in Fan Capital? It's not bad, is it?" Su Yu asked, seeing that Shuiying's expression was not right. Shuiying smiled bitterly. "It's not just bad, it's terrible. 3 scout teams, each made up of level 3 old monsters, and until now, none of them have returned with any news." "What?" Even Su Yu was taken aback. Each of the 3 teams consisted of 3 old monsters at the 3rd heavenly layer. Not only were they strong, but they were also experienced, cautious, and quick-witted. They were specially selected to serve as scouts. However, until now, none of them had returned, not even a message. There was no such thing as luck in the world, and it was highly likely that they had met with misfortune. That was why Su Yu was horrified. If 1 or 2 did not return, it would be understandable. However, out of 9, it would not be difficult for one to escape, right? No one had escaped, and they did not even have the chance to call for help. There was only one explanation, and that was the appearance of a powerful figure who had crushed them and rendered them powerless to resist. There were only 4 such figures in the ancient god realm. The most likely one was Nitian Guyun. Except for him, no one could make 9 level 3 old monsters stay in one go. "Come, let's go up and see how they deal with it." Su Yu's eyes were solemn. Nitian Guyun's appearance was only a matter of time, but it was earlier than Su Yu expected. According to Su Yu's prediction, Nitian Guyun would only make a move after the Moonwatch sect leader appeared. If he appeared now, wouldn't it be equivalent to challenging the Moonwatch sect leader? He accidentally locked it to 6 chapters, and he only released me from the small black room now, delaying the upload by 2 hours. Chapter 1435. The 2 quickly left the underground and came to the main hall. At this moment, the clan master and the 2 temple masters were frowning, and the atmosphere in the hall was extremely heavy. In addition, there was another spirit wizard in the hall. It was the old man in the linen robe who appeared at the Saint Lady's son-in-law recruitment. When he saw Su Yu, he nodded as a greeting. In this atmosphere, it was considered polite. The Wang clan master and the 2 temple masters were lost in thought and had no time to pay attention to Su Yu. "This is not the way to go. We don't understand the situation at Fan Capital at all. To be precise, we don't know the enemy's movements at all. Not to mention supporting Fan Capital, even we are in danger." The mistress of the greatest Saint Lady Temple was the first to lose her composure. The Lord of the Holy Saint Temple immediately retorted, "What else can we do?" The 3 scout teams that were sent out disappeared without a trace. The teams that were sent out to search for them were also like clay oxen in the sea. 5 days later, There was no news of them at all. The mistress of the greatest Saint Lady Temple said, "No matter what, we must act now, or we will be sitting ducks. It's just the method." She sighed and shook her head. Based on what happened to the 9 scouts, even if the 3 Supreme Masters acted personally, they might not be able to get away with it. The Lord of the Holy Saint Temple had no idea but kept sighing. The Wang clan master was silent for a long time and said, "The top priority is not the life and death of the scouts, but to understand the situation at Fan Capital. We must find a way to break through the enemy's blockade and go to Fan Capital to find out." After a pause, he said hesitantly, "I have an idea, but I don't know if you will agree." The 2 temple masters' eyes lit up and said, "Please speak quickly." The Wang clan master looked at the old man in the linen robe with some fear and said, "My method may violate the rules of the wizard tribe, but it is urgent. I hope Lord Spirit Wizard can put in a good word for us." The old man in the linen robe nodded and said, "I am not a pedantic person. I was sent by the sect leader to supervise the war, so I naturally know that some things cannot be done according to the rules." With this, the Wang clan master was completely relieved and took out 4 bottles of blood-red pills, all of which emitted the power of the mortal world. As soon as this thing appeared, everyone's face changed, but they did not speak immediately. To tell you the truth, this was refined by my ancestor from the red dust forbidden area. It's called the red dust dream. After consuming it, one can enter a dreamland, said the Wang clan leader. The Lord of the Holy Saint Temple frowned. Dream? What does that have to do with the current situation? The Wang clan master waved his hand and said, "Let me finish speaking. What you entered was not your own dream, but someone else's dream." Everyone frowned. Entering someone else's dream sounded unimaginable, but when they thought about how this thing came from the red dust forbidden land, it made sense. If the person who consumes it can enter the dream of any living being in Fan Capital, they can talk to them in the dream and understand the situation in Fan Capital. Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up. If this thing was useful, it would be a good idea. The Lord of the Holy Saint Temple thought for a moment and said, "Other than entering a dream, what other disadvantages does this thing have?" However, the Wang clan leader smiled lightly. To be honest, there are no disadvantages. Other than the fatigue of the soul, there are not many effects. Instead, there are many benefits. After swallowing it, one's body will have an additional red dust power. Those who have the red dust power will have a pair of red dust eyes, which can see the red dust lines that are invisible to the naked eye, but it can only be used once. The Lord of the Holy Saint Temple was stunned. What's the use of seeing through the red dust lines? Use? Haha. If you want to find someone you don't know where, the red dust lines can easily point you in the direction. In the past, when the Empire of Darkness attacked the wizard tribe, they once snatched 2 red dust dreams and got 2 people with red dust eyes. Guess who one of them found with the red dust lines? The Empire of Darkness. Everyone was thinking. Suddenly, everyone's face changed dramatically. The mistress of the greatest Lady Temple and the Lord of the Holy Saint Temple seemed to think of something and said in unison, "The remains of the Ice and Fire Divine Warrior?" The Wang clan leader said, "Exactly. The remains of the Ice and Fire Divine Warrior have been missing for hundreds of millions of years. Even his descendants, the Ice and Fire Royal Family, do not know the specific location of the remains. But the Empire of Darkness knows it because of this thing." Hearing this, everyone was overwhelmed with emotion. There were too many super strong people who had fallen in ancient times. If they had the red dust eyes, wouldn't it be easy to find their remains? To be honest, if it weren't for this battle, I would never take them out and use them. After all, the refining method has been lost, and there are only 4 left in the world. The Wang clan leader said reluctantly. Staring at the 4 jade bottles in his palm, everyone's eyes were burning with desire. Even Su Yu's breathing was heavy. He had been looking for a person for too long, but that person seemed to have disappeared from the world. Whether it was Jojo, Xing River, the lost ancient god realm, or the vast lost nation. He had never seen that person again, never received news of that person, and never even heard of that person's name again. Many times, he would wonder if that person had already perished in this world. Thoughts and worries often woke Su Yu up when he was in a trance. That person was Xia Jingyu. Since they parted ways in the Jojo continent, Xia Jingyu seemed to have disappeared from the world. Before she left, she told Xiana to find a way to resolve Su Yu's fate. Since then, she had disappeared without a trace. Where was she? Why didn't she leave any trace, as if she had never existed? Red dust lines. Su Yu wanted to know if the line between him and her was still there. Was it a beauty or love? Su Yu already had the answer. Unfortunately, her departure did not give Su Yu any chance to respond to her. The scenes of the past made Su Yu's heart tremble inexplicably. The 4 fiery red jade bottles made Su Yu feel as if he had seen hope. He wanted to get one. He wanted to see where Xia Jingyu was. Was she okay? However, there were also people who were clear-headed. Ling Wu's eyes lit up. If the red dust dream really has such a heaven-defying effect, why did the Wang clan survive until today? Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Indeed, if they had this thing, they should have used it to find the remains of powerful creatures. Maybe they could find long-lost resources. The Wang clan master smiled bitterly. It's not that I don't want to, but that I can't. The Wang clan can't consume this thing. Why? Ling Wu asked. The Wang clan master sighed. When the ancestors were collecting the power of Azura at the entrance of the Azura Forbidden Lands, they unfortunately encountered a woman. She called herself the Red Dust Lady and was from the Red Dust Forbidden Lands. She was extremely powerful. Although the ancestors reacted quickly, they were still injured by her, and their blood was invaded by the power of the red dust. Hearing this, Su Yu's heart moved slightly. Since then, the direct descendants of the ancestors have inherited the weak power of the red dust in their blood. After thousands of generations, the current Chu clan has basically inherited the power of the red dust. The Chu clan had been intermarrying with the same clan for generations. If the time span was longer, the descendants should all have this kind of bloodline. In the past, after the ancestor succeeded in concocting it, he personally tried to use it, and was able to enter someone else's dream. However, the power of the red dust in his blood actually drew Mistress Red Dust into the dream. The Red Dust Lady tried to control the ancestors through the dream, but the ancestors did not hesitate to cut off half of his soul to get rid of the control. Now, do you understand why the Chu clan can't consume the red dust dream? If there was the power of the red dust in their blood, it would certainly summon the terrible Red Dust Lady into the dream. So, the red dust dream has been kept until today, and now it has come in handy. The Wang clan master held 4 red dust dreams. Whoever is willing to consume this thing personally, I will offer it to you. However, not everyone is suitable. Everyone was nervous. Is there a requirement for consuming this thing? The Wang clan master nodded. Yes. After all, the red dust dream is refined with the power of the red dust. If the person who consumes it does not have the heart of the red dust, it will be difficult to exert its effect. Hearing this, many people showed a look of regret. For cultivators, only by concentrating on cultivation could they go further, so there were countless people who had cut off the red dust. The longer they cultivated, the more indifferent they became to the red dust. Most of the people present had a lifespan of hundreds of years, and they were extremely indifferent to the red dust, let alone a heart of the red dust. Then, we can find young people in their early 20s, the mistress of the greatest Saint Lady Temple said curiously. This doesn't seem to be difficult, does it? The Wang clan master shook his head gently. How can it be so easy? Stepping into the dreams of others is essentially a function of the soul. Therefore, in addition to a heart of the red dust, a strong enough soul power is also needed. How strong? About the same as you and me, the Wang clan master said. The people present were stunned. In other words, they needed to be in their 20s, but their soul power had to reach level 3. It was not that there were no such people, but they were too few. Everyone fixed their eyes on the young people present: Su Yu, Shuiying, Wang Qingchen, and Kailin. Wang Qingchen possessed the power of red dust, so it was not suitable for him to take the red dust dream. Su Yu and Kailin's cultivation had not reached level 3 yet, so their souls were certainly not strong enough. 3 more people. The 3 attendants I brought from the temple can make up for the 3 vacancies, the Lord of the Holy Saint Temple said. Behind him stood 3 young men with high cultivation. They were about the same age as Zhao Tianyin, and they were all candidates who had competed against Zhao Tianyin for the position of Holy Sun back then. Now, they had become the trusted aides of the Holy Sun Sanctum's Lord. Everyone frowned. The Lord of the Holy Saint Temple sure has a big appetite. He's going to take all three. The mistress of the greatest Saint Lady Temple said, I also have 3 good candidates. The Lord of the Holy Saint Temple narrowed his eyes, and the mistress of the greatest Saint Lady Temple's eyes collided in the air. We do have enough manpower, but the quota is limited. Why don't we let the 6 of them do a simple test to see who is more suitable? What do you think? Clan leader Wang did not want to offend either of the 2 halls. Of course, they had no objections to this. The mistress of the greatest Saint Lady Temple said, it is up to the Wang clan leader to decide. Clan leader Wang immediately took out 6 bronze rulers, on which there were a total of 9 carvings. This is a tool that was specially refined by the ancestor in the past. It can test the degree of compatibility between the user and the red dust dream. The higher the compatibility, the more prominent the effect of taking this pill. Clan leader Wang distributed the bronze rulers to the 6 of them and said, you recall the deepest feelings in your life. The fluctuations of your soul will be sensed by the tool, and the carvings on the rulers will respond accordingly. The more compatible the person is, the higher the number of carvings will change. So far, the highest record is the ancestor himself, who has achieved 8 carvings. As long as you reach more than 3 carvings, it means that you are suitable for the red dust dream. After the introduction, clan leader Wang said, let's not delay any longer. Let's begin. But at that moment, a figure walked out from the crowd on the right and said, Clan leader Wang, can you let me try too?